Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 498. Jared Miller alongside Johnny V.
Yeah.
He's here, folks.
I'm here.
He's here one more day as a 45-year-old.
Yeesh, you're right.
A few more hours, just a few more hours. You'll turn that ripe old age of 46.
In previous podcasts, we for sure would have made it into a birthday day.
Tonight, we're not gonna.
But probably not tonight, because you got stuff to do tomorrow. You got places to fly to. You're flying to Austin
yes.
tomorrow to do some commentating for the USWDGC.
That's how we treat Kristen. We let her win. Let her win the Grand Slam, the sweep of the majors last year, and then you have to shorten her reign as U.S. Women's champ. How disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean,
she just won it in like September. And
right.
Here we are, trying to immediately get some other contenders in there
we
to
call
take
this
away the title.
The U.S. Women's. This isn't
okay.
the Estonian Women's Disc Golf Championship. We got to get her out. We got to get somebody else in.
Yeah, well, at this rate, clearly this year is already proven. We've seen some incredible competition, and that segues right into our champion from this weekend in Scoggins. What an incredible performance, and to see so many of the disc golf community members rally around the story that's Own. And we've seen her and we've known her and we've loved and appreciated and valued her in so many ways. And then we've seen her come out on top a couple of times at some of these events. You know, you think back to D-Glow and some of these other incredible performances that she puts up. But then to come out and have a truly record-breaking experience and performance that she put up this last weekend, you put on your bingo card things like Own having a good time, some plays maybe on her name. There's all sorts of things that you put up for the year. But when you say Own averaging 10-27 golf over 3 rounds to take down not just the field, but a very solid field at that, with all of the heavy hitters in it, because when she won D-Glow, Kristen
there was
wasn't
no Kristen.
There, whatever. But with all the heavy hitters in it, and then to still take it down in the fashion that she did, truly remarkable and incredible, and hats off to her.
Hats on to her.
Yeah, hats on to her now, exactly. Just absolutely awesome to see. And, man.
She averaged 10.25?
10.27, I think.
10.27?
Maybe it was 10.25. I just said 10.27, so we're going to believe that.
Regardless... Not quite the highest average. No, I'm sorry. It is the highest average of all time. She didn't quite hit the highest single round of all time. She was short of that by like 5 points. What a phenomenal showing. I got to watch some of it, thankfully, this weekend, and she just carved up those woods. Like, you were watching so many other women hit and ricochet and then miss putts and just be a little off on their drives. Own just dominated that course. There was almost never a question. Like, there was a brief moment in round 3 where Kristen started out with 3 for 3 and Own got the 1 of 3. And you're thinking, oh, this could be it. Own could maybe slide back a little bit. Kristen has, a 10-20 rated round. Own comes in with like a 990 or something, and Kristen could do that Kristen thing she does. No, Own rattled off 4 in a row after that and kind of put the nail in the coffin at that point. There was not enough holes for Kristen Tatar to come back. And it was just so much fun watching Own putt. She was hitting everything. There was, we're going to see if we can get to pull up the stats here for Own Scoggins. Own Scoggins, 87% fairway hits, 24% parked, 78% C2 in regulation, 39% C2 putting, 39% Terry Miller.
Damn.
And those are just the categories she led in. Not to mention, she shot 74% C1, which I think put her, honestly, around 10th or 12th. But, I mean, it's, regardless, what a weekend for Owen Scoggins. Her average putting distance, 16.2 feet. This is one of those instances where we talked about it last week, where what does that really say? Total putt distance, average putt. Does it really matter? I think this is one of those ones where this helps tell that story. And to have Owen do what she did was amazing. Just flat out amazing. And to see the outpouring of support after she tapped in, so many of the women came up and congratulated her, which is really funny because this is her second Pro Tour win. But as you said, there's always been that little kind of monkey on your back, like, well, Kristen wasn't there. I mean, it's awesome she won, blah, blah, blah. No doubter.
Yeah.
Not a single doubt.
Yeah, congratulations to Kristen. I think maybe one of the coolest parts about it is the, so to speak, redemption in which she felt like she had from this being one of her poorest performances in the 2023 season to come back. And I understand the course is different and there's, different components and all that stuff, but just in general, to come back to a course and to a, or to a tournament that you performed poorly at. And I'm sure that was somewhere in the back of her mind. And she said it multiple times, like she didn't have expectations coming into this event. And to see her perform the way that she did, just truly incredible. I don't know if we can say it enough times. Not often will many, for a number of years, probably be able to say, hey, we bested the field. We bested, she bested Kristen by 11, and then she bested Missy, who was in third, by 16. That's just not something you're often going to hear for the foreseeable future in a lot of tournaments, especially a 3-round tournament. You may think a 4 or a 5 round, somebody has this incredible week and they're truly unstoppable over 4 or 5 rounds at like a Worlds or something, and they kind of run away with it, and because it was their week. Well, this was her weekend. She said that much, but she squeezed every bit out of it that she could to come away with that margin of victory is incredible.
I think she's just hoping Austin's her city, because that's going to make this upcoming week a lot of fun for her.
Yeah, and we'll get into some details for this upcoming U.S. Women's, which is going to be kicking off now just in a few days. Very quick turnaround. You immediately have to think about some of the women in their turnarounds that a few women even took off. I think of Jessica Weiss, who said that she was okay with just taking off the weekend. A couple of weeks ago, we saw Maria Oliva say, hey, I'm going to withdraw from Waco and I want to start focusing on the U.S. Women's. So some of these women were taking that into consideration, and the guys, so to speak, will have the weekend off and won't be playing in a high level, elite series event. Some will entirely take off. Some will find a few other things to do or spectate or whatever. But the women are now going on their 3rd consecutive weekend, and it'll be 2 out of 3 that they're playing 4-day events, this being a major. So nothing for nothing. It's early in the season. Hopefully you don't have any of these, long-standing potential injuries or anything in the background, but this is going to be a lot of golf. Oh, and mind you, not necessarily ideal playing conditions over these last few weeks.
Oh my gosh.
So these are all things that I think you put in your back pocket as we're going to be solely focused on the women this weekend.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. The prelude was saying, all right, this weekend could get ugly as far as weather goes. It could get nasty. And it was rainy and windy, and there were some delays. We were fortunate enough on day 2 to just barely get the MPO in after, I think, like a 2.5 or 2 hour delay. And then on day 3, the men barely finished up. Literally, there was worries that the playoff was going to be a problem if Nicholas didn't hit that putt, and it tied. There was it was dark.
Yeah, because 3 holes were trimmed out already.
Correct, for the MPO.
Of the MPO final round. And I'm not good with I didn't do the geography. How much of that, if you click on it, how much of that, is that purely just geography of the course, that it made sense to trim those specific holes out? I would have to think so.
I believe so, because they trimmed out 12, 15, and 16.
Okay.
And so 12 375, 15 is 345, and 16 is 375. So they gave everybody pars on the scorecard, ultimately.
Yeah, which I think poses a whole nother question for
another
day.
And I think just in general, those holes, there were some people out there, and I don't recall the holes particularly. That's one of the things in this course I wish we had gotten. I wish I'd gotten to see it in nicer weather because I was a little bit distracted, and just with everything happening, I feel like you don't get a good feel of the course. Those particular holes, I heard people saying, well, I think they're three of the worst holes on the course.
Wow.
Like the least liked, we'll say. I don't want to say worst as in worst played, but they were the ones that people just didn't really care for. So I think it's fortunate that those were the ones that got taken out. Plus, you take those out because I think there were already some MPO on the course when they made the decision. So no one had gotten to hole 12 yet. I think they had just started teeing off. They were somewhere early in the course. So getting rid of those three helped really cut down the time.
Yeah.
And as you said, it probably just made sense logistically from, where to go from where. Because when I watched the MPO finish on that final day, you didn't notice anyway, like, oh, we got this long walk now. It was very smooth.
I'd be curious if maybe the board knows, somebody that's probably more familiar with the actual course and the facility. Just chime in on the board and let us know, like, and there's nothing we're going to do about it now. But did that make the most sense? Again, was that a geographic thing? Clearly it wasn't I'll say I want to say the whole difficulty. I mean, all sub 400 feet holes, all par threes. So it wasn't a matter of like, hey, let's trim out a par 5 and a tough par 4 because that's for sure going to save us a amount of time. I'm just assuming, again, geographically, that's how it ultimately made the most sense. Maybe when you got done with one hole, when you shift over. Now, I'm not familiar enough with the course that I have any idea, but that would just be my guess. So, nonetheless, they got them all in. All right,
and the course was much more liked this year than it was last year. I think everyone was kind of happy as to how it felt, it played, and some of the changes that were made. But we will talk about the women here a little bit. Let's go a little bit further down the scoreboard. As we said, Scoggins owning this course. Second place, Kristen Tatar by, as you said, 11 strokes. Third place, Missy Gannon. What's amazing to me, looking at the round for round 3, Own shot a 10 down. Kristen shot an 8 down. And then Missy with a 2. Natalie Ryan with a 3. Henna with an even. Like, there was nobody else near them.
No.
And they just kind of walked through that course relatively smoothly. As we said, fourth place, Natalie Ryan, tied with Henna Blomroos and Kat Murch. Kat Murch had an off and on day or weekend. We'll say that final day, she was, I think, on the lead card, ended up shooting a 6 over par, ends up at only 8 under. She was right there with Tatar up until that final round when just nothing went right for her. Katrina Allen making a great showing in 7th place. There were a lot of people writing Kat off for multiple reasons. One, she didn't look like she had her throw down yet. Obviously, she is pregnant, so you never know how that's going to change or make your body react and whatnot. So Kat coming out with a stellar first round, decent second, I think it was a decent second, decent third. Maybe it was the second round that was a little rough for her. I don't quite recall. No, she shot a 1 down, so she went like 4, 1, and 2. So ultimately, Kat kind of making the top 10.
Yeah,
which
is vast improvement from where we saw her both at chess.com and then missing the cut at the Waco event. So to see her do that says a lot. And she made a post about still finding her swing and how she's not done. And what I think is most interesting about the post she made, maybe it was even just a few days ago, just talking about like, hey guys, I'm not like going anywhere anytime soon. Well, here's what she posted yesterday. The season is not slowing down, and it felt pretty good to play some solid golf. Not much time to reflect or rest. Women's USDGC starts Thursday. Would love to build on last week's play for the first major of the year. I feel like she even had a post before that.
It might have been on Instagram. I don't know. I mean, unless that's the same one as she puts on Instagram.
Well, here's where she said 6 days ago, right after Waco, saying couple weeks into the tour, feeling closer each week during practice of getting the game where it should be, so on and so forth. Don't worry, I'm going to for sure play through DDO, the Dynamic Disc Open. So to me, just for her to put that out there, because I love it, because all of us idiot talking heads among all of the social media and the media channels have plenty of speculation and wondering, when is she going to play? What is she going to do? What's her plan? What's her timeline look like? I just love that she put it right out there for everybody and says, I'm going to play for sure. Obviously anything can change, but she says, I'm going to for sure play through the Dynamic Disc Open, which is what, the first week of May?
Yeah. So another month and a half.
Okay. So,
and because she's due in July,
I believe that's
I saw.
I
thought that was the case.
And then just as a quick side note to all of that, she's clearly, I assume, going to be setting for what we know as a lot of far along pregnant people records for playing disc golf. I don't know how many are out there right now, but you got to assume she's going to be setting most of them.
We need Stat Mando out there.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, well, let's start with a 7th place finish at an elite event this far along. There's something to be said about that right off the bat. So I hope everything continues to go well for her, and it's going to be awesome to see her continue down this journey. And I'm just excited to see it. I don't know, because we haven't seen this.
We need Stat Mando to do months pregnant versus placement with some sort of. We'd have to look back at like a Paige Shue, who I think kind of just took that time off.
And that's what I'm saying is that, and a lot of this is very personal, and we'll probably never know some of these details. But you got to wonder, how far along was some of our top finishing, and who those players might have been, because let's speculate,
Terry. There's nothing better than two men speculating on a pregnant woman.
I'm not about to do that.
All right. After Katrina Allen, we've got Evelina Salonen in 8th place, and then a tie for 9th between Valerie Mondahano, Heidi Leine, and Allie Smith. Allie Smith is a name we haven't talked too much about this year, so it's good to see her kind of start to come up on the leaderboard, and Heidi as well. So a lot of these women probably getting a good warm-up in before USWDGC. Should we move over to the MPO?
Sure.
All right. MPO. Nicholas Anttila wins this by a single stroke over Kyle Klein in a dramatic finish, Terry. Dramatic. If I know, grain of salt here, because you're talking to two guys here who really pioneered the live industry, but if you weren't watching this one live, you missed. You flat out swing and a miss, because the way the production crew handled having so many guys in this was amazing. And I know I was sitting on the couch watching and just thinking like, oh my God, they hate this. Control room is just, Mo is just pulling his hair out. He hates it, because there was, at one point, I think we had like 7, 8, 9 guys that were in contention to win. It came down to the very, very end. Kyle Klein was on the 3rd card. And so Kyle comes in with a 12 under, was the leader up until the final hole. Kelvin Heimberg had a chance to catch him, but ended up bogeying the final hole. Had he birdied it, he'd have been right there with Nicholas. Had he parred it, he would have tied with Kyle, and then there was a chance for a 3-way playoff. But
that would have been great.
Oh, God. No one wanted that. But anyway, coming down to hole 18, Nicholas needed the birdie, and this is a wooded tunnel shot. He had bogeyed it the day before, and I think birdied it day 1. I need to look now for sure. Bogeyed it round 2 and birdied it day 3. I'm sorry, day 1. So he walks up and he just puts down the perfect drive in the dark. Right in the middle. If you can't see the trees, you can't hit them.
That's right.
It's typical glow golf. And then throws the most beautiful Anheuser. And I think it caught up on a little bit of stuff because he was circle's edge. He was just outside the circle. And you could see how nervous he was. It bled through on the television. Just the cameras were on him. You could see he's kind of nervous, anxiously waiting for his putt, kind of playing with his putter or whatever. He steps up, he lets it go, and it's 3/4 of the way there, and he's celebrating. He knows, which no one wants to see a spit ever, but you just always have that gut feeling like, please don't come out, because he knew he hit it. He knew it was the sweet spot where he wanted to get it. Drains it and then celebrates, as one should. He just took down. He is the first Finnish MPO player to win an Elite Series, because we have had Evelina.
Yeah.
And I know there was a lot of places out there was just, that were celebrating first Finnish winner of the. It's the first MPO Finnish player. We're not going to short shrift Evelina, who has had some really solid and great events. So Nicholas ends up winning this event, gets to put on the cowboy hat. He didn't even look that bad in the cowboy hat for being a Finnish player. He just looked like a young man in a cowboy hat. I'm not going to lie there. And you got to see Kyle Klein while Nicholas was coming down the 18th hole, practice putting in the dark. And even watching Kyle throw these, he was practice putting to an elevated basket and just throwing them over the top. It looked like he was just pumped and eager to go. Like he almost couldn't control his putt because he was so excited. As we said, third place was Calvin Heimberg, who just hole 18 couldn't get it done, but has a good showing after taking the week off at Waco and having a poor showing at chess.com. There were start to get some rumblings of, is Calvin still I don't want to say still good, but is he still healthy? Can he compete right now? I think this put a lot of that in the closet.
Isn't it how fickle we are?
Fickle, yes.
Just immediately want to start writing a guy off after a poor weekend or two.
Yeah. And welcome to sports, man.
I know,
fourth place, the guy who's probably had maybe the best year so far, Anthony Barella, coming in with a 9 under par, not getting any of the last 5 holes. I take it back, because 2 of those were not. So he didn't get any of the last 3 holes. 2 of those, obviously, pars were from because they took them off. But needed to get those 3 last ones in order to keep up with Nicholas. Tied with Gannon Burr in 6th place, Cole Redalin. So we got to see Cole finally start to show up this year, who he's just really not been much of a talking point. The other guys ahead of him have all been in the game this week, as well as Anthony. Woo, Andrew Marweed. Andrew Marweed, again, just had a pretty solid weekend. 8th place, Corey Ellis, who at one point Corey was in contention, and I think just couldn't keep up. Just literally, he missed so many putts. I believe it was day 2 that he just missed. He was airballing C2s, which was not like him.
No.
Like, I watched at least 2 just airballs from close C2. Not like, he's not airballing like 50 or 60 footers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just not able to kind of get it under control. And finally, your top 10 finishes out with Chris Dickerson and Matty O. Both those guys, good to talk about them, as again, those are 2 that we really haven't mentioned their names too much this year. Matty O had a decent chess.com finish, I believe, but I don't remember him. I think he took last cash at Waco.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
I was just going to say, and what really jumps off the page at me when you look at the final scores, if you weren't following along throughout the weekend or anything like that, you see that down to Chris Dickerson and Matty O, essentially tying for 9th. 9th place was just 5 off the lead as a total. When you're looking at they were at 21, or 6 off the lead. Anttila was at 27, 6 off the lead, and it was very competitive, going 27, 26, 25, 24, 24, 23. Like, it just that's always, like you said, going to make it for so much more of an exciting finish.
Yep. And the best part was, as we kind of all were talking about in some chat boards, it didn't feel like watching live. It didn't feel like you missed anything. The control room was on the ball. They were getting every player, every shot that mattered. The minute a player was kind of out of it, they just faded away, and you didn't have to worry about them anymore. So, again, hats on to the control room crew, but ultimately hats on to Nicholas Anttila and Owen Scoggins this week. And they get the Open at Austin Cowboy Hat Trophy. Phenomenal. Just a phenomenal showing.
Yeah, congrats to them both. This being, as you just mentioned, with the Finnish victory, or Anttila being Finnish and getting that MPO win here on the tour is certainly yet another.
We've said it's been
insight.
coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's another insight of what's to come. It's a precursor, foreshadowing, whatever you want to say. We're gonna see that door now. As he maybe opened it, I think we're gonna see it get kicked open and continue to see floodgates of players that are going to. It's just gonna become more and more, common.
It is, and you could see how much it meant to all of those guys.
Yeah,
because he ran back, jumped on his caddy, and then you see all of his touring buddies come up and just give him the biggest hugs, and he was celebrating, and then he gets to the awards, and you can see how emotional it was for him. He was literally crying. Yeah, just that's something you don't see. You're probably not going to catch Anthony Barella doing that for an Elite Series anymore.
Not maybe anymore. He got emotional as he
should. He got his first win. But that's what I'm saying. Like after that first win, you're probably not going to see Calvin do that for an Elite Series win. Once you have that under your belt, it's a little different. But for him, he has come so close so many times. Like he had it a few weeks ago and let it go. He was there for USDGC and Burr just pushed him out. Mm-hmm. Like he's just been on that cusp for so long. To see him finally get it, you could just tell the relief. And Gannon Burr came up and just gave him the biggest hug. Kyle Klein came up, gave him the biggest hug. And granted, I don't think it matters that they're all Team Discmania, but you could tell there was some celebrating for those guys. I think Team Discmania is looking really good right now. After there was some, as there always is in off-season, oh no, they lost Eagle after they lost Simon. What are they going to do? And then Gannon Burr shows up. Nicholas Anttila re-signs. You've got,
Klein already there.
Klein already there. You've got these three young guns who are just shooting phenomenal golf. Yep. So it's great to see. It really is. The MPO is exciting. And there were a lot of people talking about FPO, how maybe it's losing a little bit of interest because Kristen just dominates. What fun is it to watch a player just crush the whole field? But Owen Scoggins says, no, not so much. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get my share in at the ripe young age of 40, whatever. Yeah, early 40s, younger than me.
yes, and about to be even more younger.
And shut your mouth. Yeah. So this overall was a great event.
Yes. Very cool. As I just said, I think in the back of your head, you have to think about, the Texas swing, the experiences that these players are having. They've now been in Waco. They've been in Austin. Now they're going to be in Austin for the FPO and for just general women's golf at the major. And we're going to have all the different women divisions playing at the U.S. Women's this year. And then to see them head to Houston for Texas State's the weekend after. We're going to see what not only does the weather hold out for us for this weekend and or have in store for us, and then also just how big Texas is in Texas disc golf as we're at basically the halfway point of the quote-unquote Texas swing. So congrats to the host team, who I'll openly admit Johnny and I don't have as nearly as much history with in terms of, so often we know kind of the people behind the scenes or the people doing all of the work. Austin is not a place that you and I have had a lot of actual intimate experiences with.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, well, there was that one night in Austin.
We were in
but congrats to them, and it's awesome to see. And you saw a lot of positivity coming from the event. You hate to twist it into anything that's not positive, but it has become, I don't want to call it a theme, but it definitely reoccurs from time to time when people have expressed some frustration or disappointment with what people will largely put under the umbrella of tour standards or standardization. And we saw a couple players talk about the tee pads that they may or may not have loved. Baskets always get talked about. I think they'll forever get talked about until we're playing on one basket. But even then, when we do if we ever get to a point where it's solely one basket at every single tournament on the Pro Tour, naturally the complaint will still be about that one basket because that basket's not going to be perfect. If it ever does become standard as a singular manufacturer, it still won't be perfect per some people's feedback. But that would be the one thing that I think we saw as some of the social media posts. And I don't know if we're ever going to get rid of that, to be frank.
No.
Because I feel like no matter what scenario you have, it may not suit someone. And that's where standardization, you can ask for these standards, and I think we should strive to get to standards. But at some point, like I was just saying about the basket, even when you do get to standards and they are standard at every single event, there's always going to be one of those standards that frustrates or infuriates or comes up short for either a player or a small subset of players. Like, as we all know,
you can't please everybody.
Yeah, you can't please everybody, but as we all know, a T-pad length is always going to be in the back of James Conrad's head, only because of his unique style and run-up. And if a T-pad, when Johnny and I started, back in my day, like T-pads like 4x8 was kind of a standard.
Yep.
Like that was a basic T-pad. We've obviously grown, we're throwing farther, and there's no reason why things can't upgrade or improve. 4x8, 5x10.
I'm a big fan of 5x10 because 4x8, just a hair short for my long legs.
5x10 became a thing. 6 or 7-ish by 12 has
even
obviously
better.
Become a thing. I get all of that. What is the final number that it should be at? I think becomes
6x30.
becomes a question as to what they should be at. And is it still going to be too short for James's liking? And I'm not picking on James in a negative way. I'm just saying he's one of the most famous for his style of run-up.
I mean, if we'll say, I think James, if in his wild fantasies, 15 feet for James. Because he likes to have that long run-up. I think after that, I think that's plenty for him. That's way more than most people need. Some people just like a little bit longer run-up, but...
Yeah, so those all become another interesting point. I was reading somebody said something about why do baskets become standards, and it was funny because when I then just lurk around some of these discussions, somebody very emphatically said that I forgot what they said the wish should be, but they said the distance should be 15 feet. In terms of the T-pad, and then that the Pro Tour should be hauling around these 6x15 foot T-pads, 18 of them.
Concrete T-pads?
He didn't specify concrete, but I'm thinking a 6 by, like you're hauling around a 6, like those are 18 platforms, and it's not 18 because you would need FPO ones. It could be as many as 36 on a given course. So I don't see that becoming necessarily a solution, but I thought, man, hauling around a 15-foot T-pad, not saying they couldn't be permanently installed, but a 15-foot T-pad that you're hauling around seems crazy. But then I was seeing all these other analogies to why are things not standardized? And, well, the basketball hoop at a basketball game is standard.
10 feet.
Yeah, standard height, standard size, blah, blah, blah.
Three-point line is...
All these other things are standards, and I get all of that. You know what's not standard? MLB stadiums.
No,
they're not even standard from one freaking side to the other, which I personally think is a little bit crazy. But the fact that you have a home run distance at a certain distance, and that could be different. And I don't mean just uniform around the actual diamond. I mean left field could be 404 and right field could be 412. Like, there's plenty of things that aren't 100% standardized. I'm not suggesting that we can't reach for we can't have goals that reach for some uniformity, but just realize, like, no matter what, it's never going to be 100% the exact same event to event, city to city, course to course. They're talking about some other things were thrown out as examples of other random examples of other sports. They have standard things. And then I thought, wait a minute, what about tennis courts? Is there 2 or 3 or like 4 normal
grass, clay, and
pavement? No, I'm just kidding. Concrete. It's concrete. But isn't there like 2 or 3 or 4 different like standard, semi-standard? And because somebody was equating it to bowling, I'm like, yeah, the pins,
hard pack,
and the lane, but then there's the
different
oil patterns
and whatnot. Yeah. And everyone can use a different size ball if you want to use a 15 versus a 16 versus a 12. I mean, I like to use a an egg-shaped ball, personally.
Yeah, those work out really.
Like, it's my score shows it.
No, not the egg shape on the scorecard.
No, that's different.
Sheet.
That's different.
That egg shape, that 0.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am not dismissing some uniformity and some ways in which we can be more standard, but just realize we're never going to get all the way there. And even if we did, somebody's going to be still pissed off about it.
Of course.
Or disappointed. All right. Other tournaments. Well, you got some world rankings up.
Yeah,
they switch what, weekly?
Who knows? These, I think, about every 2 weeks, because I think the last set was February 28th, and since then we've had a leap year, and now this is from March 13th. So this is actually
2029 right now.
Yeah, this is from pre Open at Austin, but after our last podcast.
Oh.
So top 5 in your MPOs: Calvin Heimberg, Eagle McMahon, Richard Wysocki, Gannon Burr, Isaac Robinson. I think we're going to see, if I had to make some predictions, we're going to see Isaac Robinson drop out of the top 5, as he has not had a good season so far. Paul Macbeth, Simon Lizotte will both drop. Kyle Klein will probably jump from 8th. I would assume up into the top 5. His season so far has been going really well, but I think that maybe Eagle might drop. I don't think he'll drop too far. But
you don't know how any of this math works.
No, I'm just projecting.
Okay.
Predicting. No, I don't know anything, Terry. But I think Eagle will
Klein
drop.
could be in 7th, or he could be in 1st. We don't really know.
No, but
Anttila is now going to be in Super First.
Super First. So those are your top 5 for MPO. Your top 5 for FPO: Kristen Tatar, Evelina Salonen, Owen Scoggins, Henna Blumroos, and Holland Hanley. I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement there. Maybe Owen jump up over Evelina, but a lot of that's going to depend on what happens this week, because if they update it every 2 weeks, we're going to see 2 events come in.
Majors got to be weighted like triple, quadruple, according to the somebody's
if Evelina wins this major for whatever reason, she's still not going to pass Kristen Tatar. I know that, because you can look at the average points. Kristen Tatar has 165 points. Evelina in 2nd place is 76. And then Owen 75. Like, it's just Kristen Tatar has so much banked up that she just can't be passed up. It will take months of her not playing to pass her up. It's just she has gained that much. So for the FPO, it's pretty set for your number 1. But I think your number 2 and 3 could easily, if Owen has a good week this week, she's going to pass Evelina up. Those points are just too close. But I think those 3 are going to be your top 3 for now. So
and I don't mean to sound completely dismissive of the world rankings. I think
these are the only rankings I care about. These are the only good ones, Terry. There is not another world ranking that matters.
Okay.
Our PDGA is our Professional Disc Golf Association. I don't care who other makes rankings. They're worthless. They're great. I've got a new Skip Ace ranking. I've got a new Smashbox ranking. I've got a new Terry Miller beard ranking. None of them matter. This is the only one that matters.
That's why I say, like, good luck to all of those that have shifted in your favor, in their favor.
Yeah.
Good luck. Just as a quick tangent to that, and this is going to be super quick. Yet again, large swaths of people seemingly, supposedly, do not care or are anti-ratings, yet almost like storyline 1.5 or 2.25 of the weekend. Maybe Owen, you want to mix it up with Owen and or Anttila winning, right? As storylines like 1 and 2. And then like 2.25 on the storyline list is Owen's rating for her 3 individual rounds and her overall rating for the tournament. And I just want to point that out. You guys can timestamp it or throw it out the window or do whatever you want, because I'm just pointing it out. Mm-hmm. For everyone that doesn't care about ratings and how ratings are trash and horrible and they hate them and they're useless and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not going that route either. I'm just saying that was like arguably the very next storyline of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
So put that in your back pocket and tell us next time how ratings don't matter or mean anything, and then we'll revert back to this timestamp. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Also published, not only did I see a caddy guide was published for the U.S. Women's, so you could go check that out. I know that.
And I'm going to say, finally, because it was...
2 weeks ago we said, it's okay, we don't need it yet. But now it's been released and you're saying, finally. Where's the happy middle for you?
I think it and personally, it needed to be before this weekend. It had to be by like Thursday or Friday. You had to have something out because you have players that are probably coming in a week early or taking the weekend off to play. So I do feel like the PDGA has dropped the ball a little bit on this caddy book, having it only released today. Now, there are pros and cons to releasing early. You and I have been to how many players meetings where they have spent a significant amount of time on corrections to an early caddy book.
Yeah.
So, hey, guess what, guys? I know we posted hole 18 is 356 feet, but now it's 342, and there's now an OB casual relief over to the left, and like, because things change. And they changed one of the holes, I believe it's hole 18. They just finished updating it, so I believe it's not an island hole now. That might be at Sparkling
Sprinkle Valley.
At Sprinkle Valley, yeah. Thank you.
Sparkling Whispering Woods.
Sparkling Whispering Woods drink. So while I do feel like I would have rather had the caddy book out a little bit earlier, even if it was going to be wrong, that's what players meetings are for, and so I would rather have it. Now, the funny thing is, they got it out and they still got that one hole wrong, and I know they're updating it, so that's great. And we're in a different position now where, we're not printing these books off. You should take these books as a digital book. Now, you can print it off. You could bring it to your local Kinko's. I don't expect the PDGA to hand out caddy books anymore because you can either keep it on your phone as a PDF or you can go to Kinko's and print it. If you want to write on it and make notes about where you're going to throw and from what positions and where things are, I'm 100% good with that. Although, like I said, I do feel like it would have been nice to have these books out a little bit earlier for players that took the weekend off that maybe wanted to go practice. This is a huge event. 400 plus people.
348 actually, but yeah.
Oh, 340.
I only say that because I just happened to see
was it? I thought
otherwise I wouldn't have corrected you. I would have just believed 400.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah.
But nonetheless.
Yeah, so 340 some odd people. That's a lot of people. And a lot of people are coming in early and they want to look at their courses and they want to check it out. So I just feel like the weekend before I don't think is asking too much to have it out. That is the big complaint so far that I've heard of the USWDGC, is just that the caddy book was not put out in what a lot of people felt like was an appropriate time. So I hope the rest of the event runs without a hitch. Everybody go to your players' meetings, because if there's changes, that's where they're going to make those last-minute announcements. Sometimes they have addendums that you can pick up pieces of paper that'll tell you. Sometimes they're posted. Always check the USWDGC website for updates. I remember we used to have to check it regularly for schedules, and you'd see, what schedule? Oh, you've got schedule 2.31. There's a new one. There's 2.42 now that Chuck Kennedy put out.
I'm looking at version 3.2 currently on the website.
Okay.
Version 3.2. And I believe they did have an updated draft schedule or an updated schedule, a week or two ago that hopefully was as close to this current one as it gets. But yes, it is all listed. I also just put a link in the comments for anyone that does want to click on it. And there's tons of other great stuff out here. Yeah. I have not. I'm excited to look at the Live Oak, the caddy book myself.
How much research have you done, Terry Miller? You got a little bit in.
So here's the plan tomorrow. Again, because our quick side note is most of our history, Johnny and I specifically, and we didn't go to Texas a lot when it came to competitive play of any kind, with the exception of the Houston Worlds in 2000.
One of the hottest worlds of all time.
2002 Houston Worlds. Outside of that, I've been to Texas obviously for quite a few of our Pro Tour events since the Pro Tour came into existence in 15 or 16. prior to that, you nor I really were involved in many of the NTs or the Waco and the Hot Series and all the amazing things Texas has been doing. It's just not a place that we traveled to frequently. So I feel like I'm a little behind on the times. But to answer your question, when I get there tomorrow, which means an early flight, which is my least favorite part. But when I do get there, one of the first things I'm going to do is go onto the course and walk the course. I'm hoping or thinking that Val and hopefully Zoe, our schedules are going to align in the sense that the three of us will be able to go out there. I don't know if anyone else will join, but the three of us at some point will probably be able to get an actual walkthrough on the course, just because it's a course that I'm not intimately familiar with. So that'll be good to see. It does bode well. I talked earlier about how crazy the scheduling is and how we're here so much for this for this Texas Swing. The fact that they're playing just one course, the FPO is playing just one course. That's huge. Because otherwise, and it's huge in the sense in terms of preparation. Some may say, hey, I wish there were other courses. I wish there was more diversity.
I wish there was.
I wish there was a different challenge besides any one course, even if that one course is amazing.
2 courses.
I wish there was at least a second course. I could get on board with that. Right now, all of the women are thankful it's just the one course, probably due to the prep and the rest and everything else. But yeah, there is just the one course that's going to be played. So my plan is to get out there tomorrow and do an actual walk around on the course, hopefully talk to some of the FPO competitors who are out there hanging out, and maybe I'll get really fancy and bring a Bushnell or something and make some of my own notes. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what those holes lay out in front of me for. But yeah, I'll be out there with a notebook and taking some of my own notes in. So maybe I'll see some of you guys out there. I'm excited to see. I think I touched on it last weekend. Just excited to see what our MPO competitors do for the weekend. Are we going to see a lot of them on bags? Are we going to see them just hanging out in galleries or hunkered down at a hole? Or are they on to Houston and already, taking in the course and relaxing in Houston, and they'll watch some of this on PDGA Live and on the network? Like I'm curious to see what the MPO turnout will look like. And
and Austin to Houston, I think, is just about 2 hours.
Sounds about right. 2.5. Somebody will correct us. There's some that are obvious.
Well, I looked this weekend. There are no events. Like, I thought maybe there'd be like a local B tier nearby that maybe they could drive to, like somewhere in the Houston or Austin area. I knew there wasn't an A tier just based on being so close to USWDGC. But I was thinking, would it shock me to see, and Alden Harris or Ezra Robinson or Chris Dickerson get in a B tier in Texas?
No, that wouldn't.
Not at all. But
there
isn't. So we're going to see some players. And I was checking the tournament registration for Texas as well, and most players are going to be there.
For Texas State, you're saying? I'm sorry, for what?
Yeah, for Texas. Most of the players are going to be there. There's a few exceptions. I don't believe I saw Paul McBeth on the registration list. Chris Dickerson is not going to be there, but your regulars are going to be there in Houston. So
yeah. So nonetheless, but I guess I think of a Chandler Fry who will just assume we're going to see him on the bag for an Ella Hansen, and maybe or maybe not we'll see a double G on the bag for a Jessica, and we'll see maybe a Kyle Klein on the bag for a Cynthia Ricciardi. There's some that are kind of to some degree assumed in some capacity, and then I'll be curious to see if there's anyone else that takes advantage, or James Proctor might be out there.
I would love to see our MPO players be spotters.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Not for the women FPO.
Yeah, but for like
the junior
intermediates or the
intermediate.
Sure.
Like get out there and make fans.
Yeah.
Like just, hey, guess what? Or you know what? I'm just going to grab a name. Matteo. Walk over to an advanced player and just say, hey, do you want to caddy for a round? I'd love to caddy for you. just be there. If you're going to be in Austin anyway, make a new friend.
Yeah.
And I just think that something like that could go a real long way. Whether it's a Joey Buckets or an Adam Hammis, I'm just looking at names. Gannon Burr. How cool would that be if Gannon just went up to some junior and was like, "Hey, can I carry your bag?"
Well, they might be older than him.
I don't think so anymore, but close.
Yes. We'll see. I'm excited. I'm also excited. I'll wholeheartedly admit the idea of our commentary team being able to be on site so that we can take in the experience of after the round when people are getting together, and it doesn't just have to be at the local watering hole at Austin Beer Works or otherwise. It could be anywhere, but just having those in-person conversations with some of the competitors and sharing either it's recapping on the day or even stuff off the course that isn't course related. Having those interactions is one of the things I miss most about not being on the ground on the sidelines for events this year. So this will kind of give us that hybrid opportunity of being in the booth for calling the shots, but then before and after the round, having some actual FaceTime and interaction with some of these competitors and being able to talk to them and truly know what they're saying or thinking or what's going on. Or that's when I'm out on the practice green shortly before we go live and I see that someone maybe is favoring their left leg or is put an extra bandage on their finger. Like those are the things that hopefully we can pick up and then relay and convey during a broadcast. And I think that's what can make our broadcast better just overall. So that's something I am genuinely excited for. I hear Austin's not the worst city in the world. We've been there before.
We have been there before.
But no, looking forward to being out there. So all right. USWDGC this weekend, 4 days. Don't believe that there's a cut. We were further researching that. I don't believe that there is. I think we're going to see 4 rounds that take place, all 4 out at that Sprinkle Valley course. Somebody on the board just said that it's too short. I can't speak to any of the details. Like I said, I'm excited to get there in person and to hear what everyone else says about the course. I can have all my own thoughts, all day long, but it really matters what Owen thinks and what Jen Allen thinks and what
we'll find out
Missy Gannon thinks
at the press conference, probably.
Exactly. So,
just a DGPT note and DGN note. If you want to keep your PDGA member discount, make sure to link your account. That's got to be done by March 25th.
Really?
Yep. Otherwise, you will probably lose your PDGA member discount. So make sure to go into your settings of your app and link your PDGA account.
Okay.
Just a note that's out there right now. Some other news. We want to talk a little bit more about USWDGC. Making her season debut, Kona Montgomery.
Yeah.
After putting it off, trying to recover as much as possible after battling thyroid cancer. She's going to come back and play USWDGC. Zero expectations. That's kind of where I'm sitting. That's hopefully where she's sitting at this point, coming off of more or less a year plus of not playing competitive golf. And finally being able to have this type of weight off your shoulders. Hopefully it's, she said she was out there throwing for a little bit and her arm got sore. I think this was last week, which is why she didn't play the Open at Austin, which she had kind of hoped to do, but she just said it wasn't in her shoulder, her arm, something was sore afterwards. But she is going to play U.S. Women's, and we obviously want to wish her nothing but the best of luck. So that's good to see that one of our young stars is returning to the field and the course.
Yeah, it looks like just an hour ago she had posted on Instagram, what's in my bag for USWDGC. So you guys can go check
Terry,
that out.
Tell me
see what's
one by one. Just let me know.
Her bag being a Zuka cart.
Do her discs feel good in the hand? Do they
hold
any
line that she puts them
line.
on? So yes, of course. Though, best of luck to her, and we'll see upon that return. And I think there's obviously still some other players that we're still seeing where they're at and what's going on and how things. We talked about kind of a little turnaround here this last weekend for Katrina. Paige, similarly coming back from injury, has not put up overly impressive weekends.
No,
by
she's
any
been
means.
bad.
And she's been very honest about that within her own social media posts. And I guess we'll see how that shakes out come this weekend. So we'll see if it gets all put back together for her. All right. Anything else that jumped out at you for other events? Obviously, this felt like it consumed most of the world because that's where all our top players were. But anything else that was of note from the weekend?
There was one other event this weekend. It was an A tier out in California, Orangevale, California, to be exact. It was the 2024 St. Patty's Classic presented by Innova. Winning in MPO was Aviel Gomez. Tied for second place, Landon Mortensen and Mike Sale. And a tie for fourth place between Jeff Fayes and Trent Somerville. That was your top 5 in MPO. There was no FPO field, so we'll quickly talk about MP40. Winning is Chris Shotwell, who shot well. 4 strokes better than Stephen Rico and Joshua Sappenfield. So fourth place, Ray Johnson, and a fifth place tie, Jay Jones and Chris Basuino. So congratulations to those players.
Yeah, and we're seeing on the board that if it's Aviel Gomez, 15 years old.
Seriously, wow.
I mean, came into the event with a 982 rating.
Shot a 1039, a 1050, and then slacked a little bit with a 994.
Yeah, almost gave it away, if you look, right?
Yeah.
Gave up 6 strokes to second in that final round.
Landon made a run at it with a 1042.
And Mike Sale was a little bit closer at the time. But, yeah, so congratulations. That's news to me. So congrats, certainly.
Another young gun who we'll probably see out on the tour in about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That's gross, Terry. It's just wrong.
I don't know, doing some work. Quick side note, it's a little bit more on a somber side, but thoughts and love and everything else, who was a staple on the tour in Chris Sprague. Him and his family had suffered the loss of his son last week.
13-year-old boy.
Yeah, and sounds
14
like 14 may have, they I think said stroke.
Stroke while in the shower.
And so I think the funeral or visitation was yesterday, but Chris, very well known, and just shares so much love to the overall disc golf community. Also one of the head guys over when you see Camden and Camden 2 and a lot of those places that we've seen in the last few years over in Iowa. Everyone in Iowa and the Midwest already knows Chris and then some, and has for many years. But certainly heartbreaking to see and to read last week. So we love you, Chris, and best of luck to you and your whole family. Yeah,
if you dig around, I think there is a GoFundMe for not for the family, but they're going to be donating it to a charity of some sort in his name, in his son's name, for some of the things that he was probably interested in. So
yeah,
a very rough week for Chris.
Certainly. All right. I'm going to find, Johnny, I need a link that I can send to what will be our guest. We're going to have a special guest here tonight.
Well.
And while Johnny double checks that and gives that to me, I want to quickly also say the Maricopa Open, 11th annual Maricopa Open, which I understandably a few of you forgot about because while that was happening, I was traveling myself over to Malaysia, Singapore, and Malaysia. I was filming that same weekend over there. Meanwhile, Spicy Boy was in Maricopa. They had to set up a temporary course. We've seen Copper Sky and we've seen the Meadows courses get used in the last 10 or 11 years for that event, last 10 years. Some combination of one or both of those largely. And this year, due to some, I'll just call them politics, and challenges with the community in using those properties, Sam Russ had gone out along with some others and created a temporary course. And ultimately that's what was played. We saw the likes of Andrew Marweed, Nick Newton, Anthony Barella, Tristan Tanner, all just to name a few off the top of my head as I was thinking back. Cupcake and a handful of others all were featured throughout the rounds of coverage. All 3 rounds of those are out and available. And I know I tried to space them out so that they went out as you guys were prepping for Austin and trying to give you some fresh footage. But if somehow you're just hearing of this for the first time, those are all out. And I did something that we talk about from time to time, Johnny. I took all 18 holes and I put them into a one video clip as opposed to separating them out. And crazy enough, now granted, there's a lot of birdies. Crazy enough, all 3 of those rounds with all 18 holes, there weren't drone previews, but all 18 holes all came in at 50 minutes or less for the 18 holes. It was like 50, 44, and 46.
Wow.
For you to watch all 18. So, again, tons of birdies on the course and relatively quick edits, but that brought you to an entire round of golf at 44 minutes, and it was pretty well received. In fact, if I had an unofficial poll, I would say it was 10-1 of people that said, I would continue to watch something like this and I enjoy this format, versus one person maybe that said, hey, I really, really love the 2.9. So it's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of factors that go into it. The style of editing, the course, the commentary, financial concerns. There's a ton of things that go into those decisions that get made. That's for another day, maybe on another podcast I do. But just so you know, I saw that, heard that. It's certainly worth considering maybe to dabble in that a little bit more, is giving you a full 18 at once as opposed to breaking up into 2 9s.
Heartquaked on the board says, that was neat, and I definitely left after 9 holes and went searching for the back 9 before I realized.
You didn't see that? You got to like 23 minutes and then there was still like 21 minutes left. I can understand some confusion because I went to the scores after 9 holes. But then I came right back to hole 10.
Well, like, I can understand if some people think, like, a lot of times there'll be like an ad at the end of a thing or something along those lines that you would just kind of go from there. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to get out of here. But
nonetheless, good to get a little more feedback. I appreciate that. All right, let me see if I can confirm. I've got something that I'm about to send. Good friend of the show, good friend of ours. He's not so much a friend of the show because he rarely tunes in and listens to us. Two yahoos. Good friend Mike Schweberger tuned in. He had some late night running around to do, or the next morning he had some stuff going on early. And he said, after not listening to you guys for a few months or a few years, good to see you're still effing up on bringing a guest in. He's like, you're only 497 in. I said, yep. Yeah. So that was pretty funny from last week. And so I thought I'd pass that along for you. All right. I'm sending off a link so we can hopefully get a guest. And we're going to see if that works with password. Here's the password, everybody. The password is...
It's like a new game show. It's back again.
That's
password.
I think I saw something like that.
Saw previews on that.
Saw
previews on that.
Get in on some of that.
Do you, though?
No, I think it would be fun.
Okay.
Do I have a chance to be a game show host?
We have been game show hosts,
outside of disc golf?
No.
Do I have that chance?
No.
Damn it. I think I would enjoy it.
Oh, I think we'd have a lot of fun.
Maybe I just need to make one up.
I mean...
No, that's not disc golf, though.
I know.
Yeah, we'll see. I passed on some information for our guests. We'll see if that can happen here in the next few seconds, so don't go anywhere. I'm reading from Tim, who has provided us some artwork. Tim, I'll send you another message back. I had to was sharing with Johnny V just before the show, our Smashbox Patreon disc, so thank you. Question is, can you hear the guest or can they hear you? That will be a good question. Hopefully tonight everything goes nice and smoothly, and we're going to find out here in just a moment. I wonder if our guest can hear us.
He's
wow, looks like he can. He's
smiling like
well, he should be smiling because we talk about him literally almost every single week, and rightfully so, because just as we saw Own in the FPO division, even though she's age protected, she decides to take care of business, setting records at an age protected age. This guy has some extra special records. Mr. 400, Brian Schweberger.
What's up?
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
I'm outstanding.
All right, start at win number 1. What? Congratulations this weekend, as we kind of have had this wandering eye on the Schwebby win tracker week in and week out.
He beat us.
He beat us to 400 before we got to 500 in shows.
That was my goal.
That was your goal. Well, you succeeded. Unfortunately, all you get is a lousy spot on our show to talk about it, but as a reward.
I bet you there's more to it. I bet you he gets more.
Win 400 out of 800 and how many events?
850 something, I think.
859 according to PDGA. So just shy of 50%.
Like 46.5%.
That ain't bad.
Ain't too shabby.
That ain't bad at all.
Congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Like a birthday, I'll ask. Like Johnny V's about to have tomorrow. Does it feel any different?
A little. I'm not gonna lie. That morning I had some nerves. First time I had nerves in quite a while.
Because you didn't want it to possibly be prolonged, or because you
because
knew,
I mean,
like, why?
The fact that it could be at one of my favorite courses on the planet was really cool. And I mean, if you saw the award ceremony, the backdrop of the course was right there. Nice sunset. I mean, that place is magical, man. It's well worth trying to get there if you ever have the opportunity. So
tell us about it for those that haven't or aren't familiar. What are you explaining? What are you so excited about? Hawk
Hollow Disc Golf Course. It's John Bisco design. It's on his family's property. It's been around since the early 2000s. It was used in the U.S. Women's Nationals event. That's actually back in what was it, like 2018, maybe something like that. Around there somewhere. Can't remember.
We were in Michigan. Somewhere around then. Yep.
It was Tatar's first major win.
Yeah. A lot of history at that course now.
And then number 400. So, do you go to that area just for the course, just for the event, or are you parlaying that into any other golf or playing or anything else, or was it you were going out of your way to go play there?
No, the Virginia Team Invitational was this past weekend. Okay. And I was on one of the teams. I was on the Colonial team from the Newport News, Virginia area. And yeah, it was first. It was only this. It was the second time I'd played VTI in the last 2 years, but I hadn't played it in like 6 years prior to that. Just didn't feel like going up for it, and just want to take some time away from it and focus on more regular disc golf instead of match play.
So let's put a pin in that just for a moment. We'll come back to the match play in the VTI because I know that's like probably an entirely separate podcast that could happen from everything I've heard. Everyone else, I have to assume, was aware of what could happen or was happening, or was it somewhat low key for you in terms of this milestone this weekend?
Everybody there knew. I mean, they do. Yeah, it was no secret whatsoever.
And clearly, no matter what you do, there's always going to be a second guesser or a naysayer, and that's not where I'm going with this. But if somebody says to you, hey, that was a one-round sanctioned flex start, does that matter to you at all? And how many of your wins fit under that description?
Less than 15 flex starts, and it wasn't a flex. It wasn't a flex start. It was regular setup tee times. It was he tried to keep divisionally as much as possible.
Okay.
But I mean, it was 120 players. I mean, it was definitely didn't feel flex startish at all because you didn't get to pick your tee time. You asked for tried to get a certain part of the day based on if you couldn't get there until later in the day. But yeah, you didn't get to choose your tee times.
And then that brings up the perfect follow up to that, which is, I think we're seeing people go away from that. Go away from the truly flex, show up whenever, kind of maybe that, dare I say, loosey-goosey kind of nature of that. Is that something that you either are for or against? I mean, and how do you compare that old format or that format to what happened for you this weekend?
I'm not haven't really been a fan of the flex starts at all. Okay. I mean, it was a vehicle to get more tournaments in the past. I mean, like I said, I've probably only played less than 20 ever.
Sure.
Most of the tournaments I play are at minimum 2 rounds in a day. I mean, I think the true test is to be tested more than 1 round in a day for if you want an actual event to count towards actual records. I think all these ones that are being amounted in the past few years is absolutely insane. I think the PDGA was definitely putting a hamper on that. I think they're changing that up.
Yeah, which I can understand. Obviously there are or were a ton of benefits to the true flex format in terms of just the flexibility, but there were also a lot of significant competitive, we'll say, drawbacks or challenges that could present themselves as well. Not only the time of day, which could happen on any given event, but you're seeing what somebody's maybe in the clubhouse with, and then you can, how that may or may not affect you. And then, like you said, choosing some of your own groups and when you show up, all of those things kind of could muddy the competitive waters, I think is a fair way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You speak to something that I think a lot that's lost, truly lost on a ton of newer players, which is 2 rounds in a day, or dare I say, a 4-round C tier or a 4-round B tier. Like those were very standard in the days when you and me and Johnny started, especially in North Carolina.
Yeah,
like very standard. And now, we're discussing the polar opposite. We're talking about a flex start that you decide that morning you want to go play 18 holes or not. Break down what some of those early events and maybe even existing events for you, what those consist of. Like, what does that mean to go play an event that sometimes is 4 rounds?
Yeah, I mean, I've already played 1 B tier this year that was 4 rounds, and that was luckily it was 20 minutes from my house, but it was a Chuckster event. It was 4 rounds, 2 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday, and I think that it really shows the true test of consistency. Even in your basic 2 round 1 day event, you can have a hot round and then just skate by on the second round and still win. Whereas a 3 or a 4 round event, you have to show some quality consistency in your play if you want to take home a win. Back in the day when I came off tour, you go to a C tier in North Carolina, it's going to be minimum 3 rounds, usually 4 rounds, and you're playing against 4 or 5 other 1,000-rated golfers trying to scrape together a win. And you're not playing consistent golf, you're not going to get them. Because there's other quality golfers that are trying to get that C tier win just as bad as you are.
Yeah, for that $244 after 4 rounds over the 2 days. And again, these are just our roots. These are where we've come from. You know, some people saying on the board, is that 2 rounds in a day times 2 days? Yeah. And at one point, I feel like, at least in Wisconsin, in the Midwest, it often became 2 rounds on Saturday, a round on Sunday morning, and then maybe some kind of showcase or final 9 or skins match on a Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until many years later, when the national tour, and then some, way after the national tour had started, finally we started seeing the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starts. But even then, look at your Beaver States. You know, Beaver State events throughout the years. You'd have maybe 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. And so you're just always were playing a ton of golf. And it's wild to see what we've evolved to with these much longer courses and frankly a lot more players. But
think of how Worlds used to be.
Yeah,
during Worlds, you were playing 2 rounds a day for 4 days, semifinals, and then a final 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
some of us didn't get to the final 9, but yeah. Johnny and I were sleeping for those, but you're right.
No, we walked around for every one of those.
That's true. Exactly. And then it was wild when World said, hey, let's go to 2-1-2-1. And you'd maybe play 2 the first day, 1 the second day, 2 the third, and then 1.
And I remember people arguing like, and this is back in the day when it was like, I'm taking vacation for this. I want to play more golf.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. It's like people didn't do that. Very few people did this for a living. And so we were like, I only get to play like 5 rounds and I'm cut.
Yeah.
And then 6, like, no, give me my full 6
and
or 7
it's only 4
rounds.
Damn it. I want to play every course in the area.
Yeah. There's 2 more courses in this area I can play.
We've come a long way, Schwab.
Yeah, I mean, Am Worlds in '98, I was playing a round before the first round, a round in between the first and second round, and both the tournament rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
It's just what we did.
Even that Am Worlds in '98, and many Worlds since then still, especially on the amateur side, I mean, that was 4 different courses, and I think we played 8 rounds, probably 8 rounds, and then semifinals and a final 9. Like those, that's how Worlds. Now, granted, these are 5 and 6 and 7,000 foot courses. They're not the 10, 11, and 12,000 footers we can see today, clearly. But that was, that was just standard. Those were our days back then.
I think Ohauser was a little longer than that. Ohauser was a little longer than that. Ohauser was a little longer.
It might have been
a little bit.
Yeah, but and then you had to sit around and wait for somebody to shuffle a scorecard. There was no, you weren't going out there. And, so as someone who's been playing this long and has been this successful, clearly you have feelings about various rules that have shifted and molded. And I know this is kind of off the cuff and random, but where are you on the side of the scoring right now? Yeah, because that's something you're worried about every weekend. You may not be doing the having to show up 5 minutes ahead necessarily at every event, but in terms of scoring and everybody taking care of their own score or getting a scorecard, where do you stand on that, or could it be improved or not?
I love the live scoring.
Okay.
Ever since it's been available, I have kept score every single round.
Okay.
Wonder why he gets all those wins.
Control of it.
Exactly.
We didn't say he's from Illinois.
I like it. I think everybody should be accountable for their own score.
Okay. And I guess you said it perfectly. I was just going to say, to follow that up, do you care about digital versus, the old school scorecard? Does it matter to you? Just everybody should be accountable for their own score in some capacity.
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to, if keeping score during your round is affecting you that badly, maybe it's not your cup of tea of playing disc golf.
Fair.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of the most important part of the game, right?
Try knitting or crochet.
Well, I mean, we've seen people like Katrina Allen. She'll sit and do crossword puzzles. She'll sit like other people. People do things in order to keep their mind off of the competition, to keep their mind occupied as opposed to sitting and focusing on the golf or the scores, and I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, bring along some crochet and go with that.
It's not like when you're keeping the score, it's showing the whole scoreboard when you're doing it. It's only showing that hole. You don't have to look at your phone or anything else on your phone while you're doing it. Just put the score down, then put your phone down. If you're so worried about it.
Yeah, or if you're worried, another way to look at that, if you're worried, keep track on a paper scorecard, and then simply don't let your mind do the math. Like, it's not that hard. You write down a number.
That's what Barry's doing now. He's just putting it on a paper scorecard. He's not using his phone.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I go along kind of with that old school mentality, and it's not that it's necessarily old school, but the score is literally the most important part of the game, and to think that some should skirt of that responsibility, I think, is a little bit silly. That's where I understand you may be distracted, but at the end of the day, like, keeping score is literally the most important part of the game. So it's fair that everybody does it. Okay.
Exactly.
Any other rules, random rules that you do want to address that I'm not thinking of?
No, I love the fact that we can clear out behind our line now.
Okay.
As far as you want.
Yeah. And we can take relief now from OB, which is kind of fun, as far back as you want.
Yeah. What in all of the years, has there been something that has really stuck as, man, I'm glad we changed this, or this is completely different from 1999 to today, that you think is just vastly different, that's been significantly improved? Is there anything that jumps out at you as just an obvious, massive change?
I mean, it was so long ago, but I love the fact that I don't have to mark my lie if I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that was like, what, 2002, 2003-ish?
Yeah, where you could just leave your disc instead of having to mark it with a mini.
Yeah, I rarely mark my lie. I mean, if I go out of bounds or if I'm hemmed up on something where I need a little bit of relief, but I'm probably less than one time per round do I ever mark my lie.
Yeah. What's your reasoning? Somebody might wonder.
I'm getting older, dude. One last time I got to bend over and pick something up.
Yeah, better on the hips, back, and knees, man. Not having to.
Yep, it's a smart life choice.
Yep.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Some people want that extra 9 or 10 inches, depending on where they are. And like you said, obviously it could be situational in terms of like if it's going to create a better stance for you. But yeah, I think is it fair to say the better you are, the less likely you are to mark the lie?
If you haven't noticed in the past couple of years, Macbeth doesn't mark his lie as hardly ever anymore.
Comes to mind?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah. Did you ever care much? I'm just thinking of old school rules. Did you ever care much about when they changed it, whenever that was, from 2 to 3 minutes to locate a disc?
Man, I don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't remember the change.
I thought it was always 3.
No.
There used to be 2
It
minutes.
definitely used to be 2. I couldn't tell you. You could give me $100 to name the year. I have no idea. It's more than a.
Maybe it was before 98.
No. Because it was when we were. Well, I guess I did play about 3 or 4 years before that even. But no, I think it was. Now I'm going to Google it on the air.
No, we don't really care. How good? All right. So,
because you said that in one of your podcasts a couple weeks ago, and I remember. I just don't remember that.
Okay.
So, how good is your memory?
Oh.
Mine's pretty good.
Pretty good. All right. Good. Because I've pulled up a handful of your events.
Oh
Lord, here we go.
And what I want you to tell me, these are all wins. These are all wins for you.
Okay.
I want you to tell me who you beat. Who's in second place, if you can remember?
God.
Damn.
It's going to be tough. I think that, again, they're not random ones. They're relatively significant ones. Let's start with the Zebulon, Cha-Ching, and Zing. 1999.
The first one?
Your first win. Do you remember who you beat? Who was in second place? Or even, I'll take not even second place. Tell me one of the guys in the field that you beat.
Well, that's going to be easy.
I know it is, but
Carlton Howard.
You did beat Carlton Howard. He was in 7th place. And any guess who would have been in second place?
I know for a fact Larry Leonard was not there.
Nope.
So did it feel less valid at the time because Larry was so...
A little bit. Okay. I want to think Walt Haney was probably there.
He was in 5th place.
Yep, Snoop was, yep.
In second place. McCree was in 4th. There was a tie for second place between Greg Mayday.
Greg Williams? Oh, Greg Mayday. Oh, yeah. Well, that is sort of a left track.
And Kirk Yu.
He's a Raleigh guy.
Who we all know Kirk Yu. All right.
Yo.
Kirk Yo. Yeah, you're right. 2003. Gentlemen's Club Challenge 4. That's how old we are.
Ron Russell.
You beat Ron Russell. 100% right. Congratulations.
He had me by 5 strokes. Yeah, I think he had me by 5 strokes starting that final round.
Yeah, and you got him by 6 in the final round to take him down by 1.
That's right. That's in 2003.
And that was prior to being a national tour or the PGPT obviously didn't exist. But yeah, that was. I
think that broke like Barry's streak because Barry had won it like 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah. 3rd place was Stevie Rico. 4th place was Barry Schultz. All right, we're going to move a little bit more. 2007, the 10th annual Newport News Fall Color.
2007.
Yep. This was a little bit more of a random one that I grabbed, but...
Walter Haney?
Nope.
No Snoop in the field.
Chris Lee?
Nope. Double J.
Justin Jernigan?
Justin Jernigan, you beat him. You took home $550. Justin Jernigan.
Yeah, well, that tournament always paid out well.
It did. $550 is a good one. All right. We only got 2 more here. One more MP. This is an MPO one.
This is an easy one.
2015, King of the Hill.
That was the second year I was there. Chandler Fry.
Correct. Is that your? No, I was gonna say, that's not your last MPO win. I don't believe. No, you've had a few since then.
No, I won it 3 years in a row.
Yep. And we'll move on to one more. 2013, Tim Selinsky, U.S. Masters champion.
Yeti.
You beat Jay Yeti Redding.
And right behind him,
Patrick Brown and
Climo.
Kenny Climo. Johnny McRae, Jonathan Baldwin,
Johnny
Barry
McRae
Schultz.
was there.
That's a murderer's row right there, honestly.
It was.
Those are the best of the best of our era, without a doubt. Like
It's
right
always-
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you took home $2,000 for that.
Yep.
Do you have in your head a most significant win? Like when you look back on all 400 wins, do you think like this one for whatever reason means more than any other, or you're more proud of it, or?
I was just doing Brian Mason, Paul Bailey's podcast right before this, and I got one. It was last year. Winning Ledgestone in MP40, and I was already 50 years old. That was huge because I think I won by 4 strokes, and that field was stacked of guys that are all way younger than me. And I think Yeti was top 4 or 5. He might have been second, but no, MJ was second. But yeah, that field was stacked, and I was very, very proud to win that event. Yeah, at 50 years old.
Awesome. Are we going to see anything special from Innova for the 400? Are we going to see like maybe a release of any sort, like a special, a limited edition disc?
If they don't do anything for me, I'm getting 400 discs made. So yeah, I'm definitely there's whether it's they help or not, there's going to be at least 400 discs made.
All right. Well, to save 2 of them for us.
Yeah.
So
I want in.
Terry got a few of them last time at USWDGC.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Slow play brewing.
Yeah. And even looking at your year this year already, it shows us that you've
Why is
played
there a number 2 in there? I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. You've played in 11 events, 10 of them in MP40. You've won 9 out of the 10, and then this weekend in MP50, you took that down. So you're 10 of 11 for overall events this year. And granted, that's playing up in a division because you've been eligible for MP50, and only one of those was in MP50. The other one's all coming in MP40. How will you make these decisions moving forward in terms of the division in which you enter?
No, I got this monkey off my back. I might play a couple more open events just because the fields have been so much bigger. But it'll just depend on how I feel physically. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the reasons I don't play open anymore, I don't want to have to mentally deal with it. I mean, I've played so many open tournaments in my life, and it's so much more fun to play with people my own age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need to talk to Luke Humphreys. He's got something to say about that.
Oh, I know. Oh, if I could have been in that conversation, I would have. I played in the Skins in Asheville last year with Luke there, and we talked a little bit, but I didn't know he felt so strongly about people moving up and playing in age protected stuff. It's kind of funny, but I thought the same way when I was his age.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and he's not. I mean, honestly, he's not that young. He's in his mid-30s.
No, I want to see he's 36 or 37.
I think.
36, and so he's staring down, as you know, and as we all know, he's staring down the 40s. Not that we'll see what he's thinking in 3 to 4 years when there's a whole nother crop of young kids, all these 15-year-olds who are now joining the tour, and his position is slowly dropping down. We'll see what he looks like then. But
and Luke really hasn't been playing that long, has he?
8, 9 years?
10 years?
Yeah, I was just going to say about 10 years. He's an AM World champ from 2018, 17, 18?
Yeah, he's still new.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for the game since he's been in it, but yeah, he's still new. So he can stay in the open as long as he wants. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll support him.
We'll all support him. Everyone in the 40s will support him staying in open. It's going to be great.
Somebody had asked on the board if there was a time where I bested you.
Yes, there was. Kenosha.
And there's exactly once.
Parkside,
per what I think I understand of Statmando, and this does check out. I think if I do the math, Parkside, UW Parkside, a place where I picked up a win. And were you second or third or fourth?
I think I was third. I think McCree was second.
That sounds about right. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I only ask because it won. And 14, which is kind of crazy. I guess I don't know if I'm using Statmando fully in the most full sense. The fact that we would only played in 15 events at the same time.
Oh, well, probably maybe Worlds. Even though I haven't played on a lot of Worlds, but USDGCs, I don't know how many of those you played in.
Yeah, okay, I guess maybe that is right. I mean, you played in a ton of big events, and if I played in a big event, it wasn't necessarily A, I never played well at most big events, and B, I didn't. You would have probably beat me. So, checks out.
I mean, I played, definitely played in a couple of the Madison events, and definitely something in Milwaukee. I've definitely played Dretzka in a tournament.
Yeah, and I may have run the tournament instead of playing, so that's possible too. But anyway, yes, that was the one. I'm glad it's on your mind.
He roos it every time he tunes in.
He goes to bed at night just tossing and turning like Miller got me. Yes, I beat McCree, Johnny, and then you and Pin High Ken Cry tied. That was a super insanely windy day. I averaged 10, 12
very
golf.
windy.
Yeah. It was a big deal for me, not so much for you. So awesome. Anyway. And funny enough, you and I and Johnny V all met and interacted for the first time. Presumably it would have been the 98 AM Worlds in Appleton, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We didn't maybe necessarily know as much. You were touring, you were traveling around, and you played in it was 99. You played in the 99 Fox Valley Open. You came back up the next year, right? Was that 99 maybe?
No, I did that in 2002 or 2003.
Okay. Yeah, because that one I did TD. That was out at Plowman. That's when we had disc TV there.
Yeah, yeah, and
and it
Aaron
filmed
Wild
it,
was
and
still crushing. Aaron Wild was still
Yep.
crushing it.
Yep, Barry and okay. So yeah, those some good times. Needless to say, it's been a long journey.
I remember pulling into Plowman for that event, and there was a couple girls out there, and they had Barry Schultz signs out there.
Really? Wow.
Yes, they did. Yes.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah, that's. Huh. Barry must have paid him.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, did they come from Sheboygan or did they come from Point? Where did Schultz get sign holders
at that age, at that time of year?
Wow, I don't know. It's certainly impressive. So does a number like 500, is that the next obvious milestone? And is it realistically in your grasp?
Well, I mean, I didn't think 400 was this quickly realistic.
Okay.
It's been, what, 2.5 years?
Uh-huh.
It was mid 2021, right before Worlds in Tennessee.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean,
it's
500
ridiculous.
Is easy.
100 more?
I mean, you keep this right. That means you only need to play roughly 200 events if you continue at this pace. And I think they're going to get easier, not harder, if you're in age-protected tournaments. They're going to get easier, not harder.
For a while. So 6 years? 6 years? Give him 6 years?
No. It shouldn't take you that long.
I mean, if it stays on the clip that it's been for the past 3 or 4 years, yeah. I mean, it could totally happen in 3 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, it all depends on staying healthy and staying competitive. I mean, because I mean, there are a bunch of tournaments with 50s, but I mean, I'm going to be staying in the 40s minimum.
Mm-hmm. So when you go play Worlds, if you
I'm playing in the 50s. I'm going to go to Emporia. I don't want to go to Emporia, but I'm going to go
and play an MP50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not MP45.
I'm going to stay in Kansas City and just commute back and forth. Yeah, I'm just going to stay in Kansas City and commute back and forth. It's only 90 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only one round a day. I mean, it's a piece of cake.
That's like one tournament a day for you. Well, who are you, when you sign up in an MP50, especially we'll say at a Worlds or a Selinsky or any of the majors or whatever, who are you looking at as like, yeah, these are most likely going to be my closest competitors? Who are those people in your eyes right now?
Barry and Johnny. I mean, if Barry gets his game back to where he was before he broke his hand, Barry and Johnny, Patrick Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Even though in the world's cases, I mean, he's in 55, so I mean, I won't be playing against him.
Sure.
But yeah, Jay Redding.
Yep.
I mean, Smitty, I guess. I mean, Smitty's the defending champ, so I mean, I can really count him out. I mean, especially he's going to be in his backyard. He's from Wichita, so Emporia's an hour from there, so the world's going to be in his
backyard. Are you clear of Joe Revere for a couple more years? How old is Joe?
He's early 40.
No, he's like 47ish.
Really? I thought he was a year younger than us.
But I don't think so.
No, he's a little older. Okay.
I think he's 46, 47ish. He might be even be 48.
Okay.
But I mean, he just won it in 40, so I don't foresee him switching.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was
as long as his
clear
back
of him
stays
for a little bit.
As long as his back stays healthy, he'll be fine.
Okay.
Because he's definitely had back issues in the past.
Yeah. And we're still clear. You got a couple years before the Ricos or the Felbergs or the Avery Jenkins. Not that Avery's playing a ton, but those guys all come to mind that are still, they're a little closer to me and Johnny. They're within a few months of us. So they're still in the 45, 46 range. Okay.
Still babies.
Yeah, still babies. What do you think? You just mentioned Patrick Brown and the 55 cut. They don't have a 45. There's not an MP45, but there's a 50, a 55, a 60, a 65, so on and so forth. It goes to that 5-year increment. How strongly do you feel about those cuts at those 5-year marks? Because those are relatively new, all things considered.
It's really hard to say because it's probably because you start getting to those ages and your body can definitely start breaking down in different ways. So I can't really say until I'm there and see how I feel then. Because I mean, when I was like 36, 37 years old, like Luke Hopper said, I'm not going to be playing MP40 for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, granted, I really didn't play a lot of MP40 for the first 3 or 4 years that I was in the 40s. I was still playing mostly open. If you look at the stats, I mean, I mean, it was majority of open still then. But yeah, you just start getting older, dude, and you just can't do it.
Well, and our field is getting deeper, rather than a rarity in seeing like I don't know, I'll go way back to like a River Sherrod coming in as a 16-year-old and Matty O as a 16 or Barsby as an 18-year-old or Doss as a 16, 18-year-old. Like we had a few young superstars, but now we have dozens and dozens of them. When you go deep into the Gross and the Smiths and the Scotts and the Joey Buckets, like these 16 to 23-year-olds, now there's a couple dozen of them that are now taking those cash spots, and it got that much more competitive in the last few years. Not to say you can't win, but I think when I go back to Luke's conversation from last week, we have these anomalies, we have these standout anomalies and superstars that are like yourself and a McRae and a Schultz and a handful of these guys, but it's just that there's a handful and they have to be on the top of their game. And so that's why I can understand making that decision week in and week out as to is 40 or open is what's my best move.
Yeah, gotta let my dog out.
Yeah.
She's 16 years old. When she's got to go out, she's got to go out.
Yeah, no more waiting. There's no time to wait. Now's the time. Where will I guess you just mentioned Worlds. I was going to say, where else might people run into you? Where else are we going to see you on a larger stage this year?
Oh, I'm definitely going to Redstone again.
Okay.
See if I can defend it.
Okay, you're going to play MP40 there.
Yeah, I mean, I lost in a playoff 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. There was a 5-way playoff there 2 years ago, and then to win it last year was pretty freaking cool. But let's see. I got a bunch of 8 tiers already lined up. I'm going to go to the Bud Hill Masters for the first time ever.
Okay.
That's the tournament I've heard about. It's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Last year was conflicting with the
Masters finishing
Kelly McMorrin's finale in North Carolina, and also the 8 tier 20 minutes from my house that I wasn't going to miss. So I mean, yeah. Now they're all on separate weekends, and I think I'm already signed up for like 8 tiers already, and I think there's going to be like 4 or 5 more that I'm signing up for. So it's going to be a busy year as far as bigger events for me because there's so many 8 tiers. I think there was over like 110 8 tiers this year.
Wow.
Okay.
That's insane. And I think the 7 of them were in North Carolina, and I think there was only like 2 or 3 in North Carolina last year.
So if anyone ever wonders, like, why are we there for the tour finale, or what's the golf scene like, Schwebies is putting that question to bed right there by saying just how rich they are in the disc golf in that area. Is there interest? Is there anything that could pull you into some international? And I think you don't like to some of that long-term travel, but or maybe you have other restrictions. But is there interest?
I will go to any country that speaks English as their primary language.
Okay.
So England,
New Zealand,
Australia, New Zealand.
You won't come to Asia. You won't come to Thailand.
Put it this way: It's a respectful thing. I don't want people coming to my country and speaking their language. I don't want to go to somebody else's country and speak my language. So,
English is basically a second language for almost the entire rest of the world now. But
I understand that, but it's just a matter of respect.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. But yeah, that definitely opens the door for a place like New Zealand, which we obviously saw that much more on the map. They have been, but this last year really drew in, and I know you're good friends with Corey.
He showed out there.
Yeah. I was just gonna say. So did any conversations ensue that convinced you that you need to get to New Zealand or any of the coverage?
That's a long flight.
It is.
And Corey got his trip paid for too, so that's a big bill.
It is. But I mean, you've got 400 wins, so we should get you there.
Well, if somebody wants to flip the bill, I will definitely consider it.
Okay. I like it.
But I will be caddying for Corey at Worlds this year. It's only 3.5 hours from my house.
Okay. Is it tough for you to? I know you're good friends with him specifically, but is it tough for you to not be competing than to watch others compete when like you're thinking, hey, I could maybe be winning like an 8 tier somewhere else this weekend?
Nope.
Really?
Not at all. No. I love to watch people play disc golf.
Okay.
Is there anything
to be able to watch them and help out if I can? That's it's huge for me. I love doing it.
Is there anything, we'll say, in the realm of realism that you haven't done that you want to do yet in the sport? I mean, I'm sure you'd love to win MPO Worlds, but rear view mirror, man. Like, is there anything that you haven't done yet that you would love to do in our sport?
HOF.
I think that's a given, man.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, you're old enough now.
So it's the only thing I got left.
That's just a matter of time. I mean, like it's
yeah, exactly. I was telling Mason Bellier. I was like, man, they say I'm getting in. I'm saying, when I'm in, then I'll believe that I'm in. But until then, I'm just going to keep doing what I do.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, that makes. I mean, like I said, 400 wins. I'm yeah, one of the first earliest touring pros out on the scene. I don't see there being any issue with him getting.
I mean, we should end the conversation. It's stupid. It's obviously going to happen. It's just a matter of.
If you look at all the players that are in the hall right now already, historically, most of them are not in by their playing. They're in by a bunch of other accolades that they've done for the game.
Correct. Yeah, most of them are founders, beginners. We're still in that kind of era where
Kenny was pretty much the first one that got in solely based on his ability to be amazing at disc golf.
Yeah.
Wow. He won so many worlds. So.
Yeah, it's just a matter of that getting caught up, and then that's a whole nother discussion as to what Hall of Fame numbers really look like from a competitive standpoint, right? We have our non-competitive standpoint and your innovators and your ambassadors and volunteers and all of that stuff. Then we have a competitive standpoint, and that is going to be a very interesting conversation for the next 20 years.
Because if you think about it, I mean, take 200 wins. At this point in 5 years, someone gets 200 local, regional, maybe a couple A-tier wins. Is that person a Hall of Famer? If they never win now a pro tour, a national tour? I'm with you, Schwebe. I say no. And 200 is a phenomenal number, but at this point, I think, looking at it in the next 5 to 6 years, to get in on your play, you either have to have the numbers that Schwebe has or win on the pro tour. That's it. Like, I think at this point, regional wins don't matter for Hall of Fame numbers if we're talking. It's just, congratulations. If you get 200 Wisconsin tour wins, nobody cares other than you'll get in the Wisconsin Hall of Fame. Congratulations. We love you. You're not going to touch the disc golf.
I mean, if I'm really being honest, I'm just trying to take the doubt out of the question.
Yeah. No, I mean, there is at this point there is none.
Yeah.
From most people's perspectives, and I think even if you look at the people that are in that will be voting for you, there's not going to be any question about it. Yeah, that's
yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess my next question was kind of along those lines, so never mind. Do you have anything to, I don't want to say reflect, but any introspective on a teammate, an age-protected, eligible teammate in Own Scoggins and what she did this last weekend? Does that hit you any differently than a 22-year-old or a 32-year-old winning and playing at that caliber in the FPO division? Does any of that hit you any differently?
Owen's doing it so right. I mean, she works so hard. I mean, and it's showing in that she's having an elbow problem now, but it proves that in the women's game, you don't have to throw far if you can put it in the basket every time you have to. That's if Evelina and Hannah could putt like she does, Kristen wouldn't have a chance.
Because you think their driving and their tee to green, so to speak,
the stats prove it.
Mm-hmm.
The stats prove I mean, they get the disc where it needs to be, and they just can't put it in the basket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
if they could put like Own, it's game over.
Yeah, I think it would definitely. You'd see a very similar to what you'd see in the MPO competitively. You would see a top 5 women, like not just Kristen and then everybody else. You would see it would be, oh, who's going to win this week? Is it going to be Kristen, Own, Hannah, Evelina? Like that's what you're right. That's what you would see. It would be much more parity if they could putt as well as Own or be as consistent from the fairway as Kristen is. So, but both Evelina and Hannah get a little spray off the tee pad when they throw far and they throw hard. It's not necessarily, and then on top of that, it's the putting clearly. But Evelina's getting over that, honestly.
Evelina's putting's actually been really good this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really awesome to see. It's really awesome to see that.
And she won.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything? Again, you've been around the game a long time. So, is there anything that you see besides the hard work and the practice that Owen puts in? Is there anything that you take away from her putter, her putting style, that you could share with the world when you see what she's doing to get it done? And I liken it to like a Yeti in a sense that obviously it has a significant amount of wobble, but it's online. Is there anything that you see and you're like, yeah, here's what people should take away from her putt?
She doesn't. Once she's set up, she's putting. She's not thinking about it. She's just relying on her work process that she's already put in.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the repeatable thing that she does. And she's done it so many times. She just steps up and she just puts it every single time, and it's always, it's barely, if it's off, it's fractionally off. It's not a grip lock away, not hitting anything. That's why she can run it every single putt, no matter where it's at. She knows she's hitting metal.
Yeah, and
if it rolls, it's just bad luck. We play with round things memory. And they roll.
It's all muscle memory, and she putts so flat, and like you said, a little wobbly, but she's not throwing a hyzer like Hannah or Evelina. Like Evelina has a hyzer putt in her, and we've seen other players that if you're off with your hyzer putt, you're missing the basket. Own doesn't do that. Like, it's just so straight and flat and confident because of the hours and hours and hours a day she puts in on the putting green. That you're right. She knows if she misses, what she's going to have, a 15-foot comeback at worst, And
because she's hitting metal. Metal.
Exactly. And so she knows she's hitting that. It's a bunch of confidence.
Yeah, I think confidence builds on additional confidence in that sense too.
Yeah.
It's easy to get timid and shy when you're worried about having to make a comeback putt and then turn a birdie look into a bogey. So, yeah.
And when was the last time you saw her miss a comeback putt?
What's that?
When was the last time you saw her miss a comeback putt?
Very rarely. There was once this year, and I remember my jaw hit the ground. I was like, "What, is Owen broken?" Like, because it's that rare.
It was kind of like the way Steve Rico was back in the day. He had that like stabbing little wobbly putt, and if he missed and he airmailed one every once in a while, he always banged the comebacker.
Yeah.
Every single time, because it was just that putting style for him. I mean,
yeah, and a little known fact that Owen played for and was sponsored by Legacy Discs when she initially came into the scene.
Her first sponsor.
I know plenty of people will never know that or have forgotten that.
I was just thinking that literally as I was watching her, and there was the big celebration, and there's the commercial with her on Innova, and I was thinking back like, bet you not many people remember like their first year or so on tour when she was a Legacy sponsored player.
Yep. Back in is way back to like 2014, and Legacy coming into the scene late 2011 and so on, but was with Legacy. And the Legacy guys are like, guys, don't F with her. Like, she will kick your ass in any putting game. Like, she'd come to the factory or she'd be hanging out at a tournament. Everyone's like, no, you don't want to go play a putting game against her because she's going to beat you. Some things never change.
Well, those were the old, I don't want to say rumors, but those were the old stories about her just sitting there on league nights and taking people's money at putting competitions just for fun. Like these guys would just walk up and think they can beat her, and she'd walk away $5 richer or whatever it is.
Disc golf rich. Schwebby, any parting shots, anything you'd like to say before we let you go here tonight on this incredible milestone or beyond? It doesn't even have to be related to 400, but anything you'd like to say to everybody?
Thanks for everybody rooting me on, and thanks to the wife for supporting me for all these years, and wouldn't be possible without her. Got to thank Innova Champion Disc. They've been my sponsor for 397 of my 400 wins. How can you go wrong? KC AVR always goes in the basket. Ken Climo proved that, and that's why I use them.
That's right. So everybody keep an eye out for the 400 disc.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it happen.
Me too. And Innova, get on that. Let's work with Schwebby. That's a milestone that we should be all celebrating.
Heck yeah, buddy. Absolutely. Well, thank you for catching up. Thank you for being in the chat. Always providing a little additional insight online or offline, whatever the case might be. We appreciate it. We're glad to call your friend and know that we've got all of these years. I was just thinking 20
too many.
Well, almost 30, 25 plus. And seriously, it's been awesome. We love our little Schwebby tracker. You might go, our tracker might go dormant for at least a few weeks. We don't need to worry about 402 or 404, but we're going to continue to watch it.
Awesome, man. Thanks for what all y'all do. It's awesome to watch.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
One more time, congrats, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy. See ya.
All right, man.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya. All right, Brian Schweberger.
Mr. 400, as of right now, that name will change.
Yeah.
It's like Mr. 402 doesn't have a good ring to it.
Ring to it.
So
I'm going to put it into the live chat for anyone that is too lazy to do some Googling. Brian Schweberger. 12989 is his PDGA number.
He's got me beat. I didn't realize he's got me beat by 2,000.
Yeah, a couple thousand. I've got him by almost exactly a little over 2,000 myself.
Yep.
I'm 10738. He's 12989. I put it in the chat. 800, and as of right now, timestamp this if you would like. 859 career events, 400 wins, and we didn't even circle back to the whole VTI, but clearly really cool. It's unsanctioned. A Virginia Team Invitational in having different match play formats, and every match play event is a little bit different how they do it, but that one is through and through talked about as one of the most fun premier events. Mm-hmm. We often see players pull themselves off of the tour for a week or two sometimes to go partake. I think of a Zach Melton in the last few years specifically. I think of I got that word. Madison Walker, again. Some of these players that have pulled themselves off of DGPT events and such just to go participate in that. So very cool to see. Forgot my next thought that I had was, I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
Anyway, Is there anything else you want to cover before we hike into an
after show? I don't think so. I think we kind of have everything covered right now, and we can give a quick chat in the after show, give something away. If you want to be eligible for a giveaway, remember that it's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. You can help support us and all the fun things that we do every single week.
Yeah, woo! With that, we're going to wrap it. 498. We're going to take a quick break, as Johnny was just alluding to. We'll take a very quick break and kind of reset the show. Then we'll come in with the after show. If you're unfamiliar with the after show, somehow, if you're new here, is our time to talk about things disc golf or non-disc golf related. We also interact with everyone that comes in off the chat board. So maybe you have something else you want to come at us with, and we can give other updates, perspective, things of that nature that, like I said, may or may not be disc golf related. So we're looking forward to seeing you there, and we'll also have a giveaway in there as well for our Patreon subscribers. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. Neither of us are anywhere near Mr. Schwebby in terms of wins, but congratulations to our special guest, Brian Schweberger, in his 400th win, and congrats to our Open at Austin champions from this weekend, Nicholas Anttila, along with Owen Scoggins. We'll take a quick break, and we'll see you in the after show. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 498's After Show. We're here as Tom Julio states 2 more wins for Smashbox before you guys have to move up to the MPO 500 division. I don't know if there's anyone else in that division.
There isn't. We'll be playing by ourselves.
Yeah, what's new?
By ourselves.
Yeah.
Different than with.
Oh.
So
either way. Yeah.
500 episodes. Not bad. Not bad.
Well, some were bad.
Oh, yeah. God, we've had some bad episodes.
Some really bad ones. But nonetheless, there's something to be said, I guess, about just sheer longevity. So, yes, as we creep up on that 500 mark, what that puts us 2 weeks out from now. I'm trying to think April 2nd, so not April Fool's Day, which would somehow seem fitting or appropriate, but it will be on April 2nd, 2 weeks from tonight.
Is there a Pro Tour event that weekend?
No, coincidentally, we'll just be wrapping up the Texas States, which you nor I will have anything to do with. I'm hoping to be just returning from the Throwdown the Mountain. And the following weekend, if my math is right, which it is in this case, is the collegiate event. The collegiate majors, the U.S. Collegiate National Championships, is coming up on the 3rd through the 6th. So, yeah, I just a regular old weekend, unless we postpone it like 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, and then who knows when 500 will come. I mean, it's like Schwebby, like we'll maybe be nervous.
Someone tries to block us. Block our.
Anything could happen. So We'll see. I guess, I don't know. We'll have to figure out if something special can happen or not. Reading off of the board, we'll read a few things that came in from the board as of late. Tim had said, congrats again, Schwebby. Certainly very deserving. Somebody says, I'll take Own over any disc golf player in a putting contest.
I think if you're talking inside the circle, I think she keeps up with anybody.
Yeah, it's when you get into that circle, medium to long range circle 2, where that's when you would go to a couple of MPO players as a little bit more deadly. And we saw that, I feel like, on the All-Star weekend. That's when you lean into a Ricky Wysocki, a James Proctor, that's
Andrew
when
Marweed,
Marweed, Corey Ellis. That's at those distances when you're talking 50 plus. Not that Own's not going to do well, but if you're talking 50 to 70 feet, she is not going to be as effective as some of those gentlemen that I just mentioned. But that's nonetheless, it's still a very elite club of overall golfers to be part of. It's truly, it's just insane. Anttila, yeah, would you consider him a medium or long range specialist?
No, not particularly. I mean, I think he's good as any average MPO player, but I don't think of him, and maybe I'm wrong based on statistics, but I just in my head, I don't think of him as a circle 2 specialist.
Yeah, that like I think of a Corey Ellis, an Andrew Marweed, a Gannon Burr, like those are the names that for sure come to mind ahead of Anttila. Not to say he's not great, but
and I look forward to hopefully soon the PDGA or Statmando, one or the other, getting out kind of our season statistics, because I know right now we have individual event and round statistics, but at some point we'll have to start seeing the the season statistics, so you can look at like, oh, this season Gannon Burr is your C2 champion, as opposed to having to kind of mentally figure those out. It's not. I'm not here complaining about it because I don't feel like it's a huge detriment, but I do think it's something that we should hopefully see in the next couple weeks. Just at that point, you can, everyone wants to start kind of digging into the stats and talking. I'm sure there are people out there right now that want to. Hopefully, we'll see them soon. Or if there's a secret site that I can go to, ring-a-ding-ding me.
Ray says, didn't FPO winner beat the MPO competitor during the COVID Online World Putting Competition thing? That may or may not have happened. I don't put as much stock in that, and it clearly could have happened. I don't know if that was an Own or a Missy or whoever took that down, or a Heather Young possibly.
Maybe Heather
might have been, but even if so, that to me isn't enough of a sample size.
But we did see,
largely because you're seeing them play in different conditions, 2 different places around the country on different days, and I don't know. A lot of that doesn't.
I'm fairly certain last year at the All-Star, we saw Alexis Mondahano get a better score than all the men.
I don't know that we did. I feel like last year she had a great score that didn't hold up. Maybe she did. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't this year. I know that, but I thought that last year I thought it was Alexis that had a better score than
she might have
all the MPO. But again, that could just be me being dumb, which is not uncommon.
No, you in fact, you're really good at it.
I'm the best.
All right. Totally unrelated news. Both of our children had varying competitive events this weekend. I'll lead. My daughter was in a volleyball tournament, a women's club volleyball tournament. They started out a little slow. They struggled. I think they lost their first 2 games, which then puts them in a certain bracket and then has them moving on to the next day in different times, different brackets, so on and so forth. They got things together a little bit during day 2, but I don't know where they actually finished. I know they wouldn't have been in a quote-unquote champions bracket of sorts because they started by losing their first 2 games. And it just the experience. I know this sounds silly to some, but because of my travels, I obviously have missed a considerable amount of things. But going to Green Bay, which is a place not far from where Johnny and I grew up, obviously. We're literally, like, I was parking in the Green Bay Packers parking lot to go into the Resch Expo Center where the tournament was. And to go in and see a tournament of this nature and this caliber and the size, there's always parallels that I draw to disc golf, in that I've been going to disc golf tournaments for 30 plus years. And to see so many people, and then the parents and everything that goes along with all of the sporting activities. And I've been to some other tournaments, but this was a really big one. This is like the biggest tournament going on in the state by far, with the most amount of competitors from all over, from all these different club teams. It's just always a very enlightening and interesting experience to see what's going down, how tournaments, the things they concern themselves with, everything from parking and entry to concessions and everything in between, and then what you compare that to when you go to tournaments these days. And then obviously the output from the support, whether it's from family or friends or parents or whomever, and everything that goes into the economy of this. And I think like this volleyball tournament that hosts hundreds of girls and dozens of teams from all over the state and the Midwest, just the overall economic impact and how that still is 100-fold of what a tournament brings in for a disc golf tournament. Yeah. And I know a lot of times we go to some cities and they think, man, how did they not know this is happening in our city? Or how did they not know or recognize, or wouldn't it be cool if that was on a billboard? Disc golf is still, in a lot of ways, even though they're earning more money.
It brings in, 150 competitors, and we'll just say maybe, if you're lucky, a
1,000 or two spectators.
Well, even that, 1,000 or two, I wouldn't even say it brings them in. Most of those are probably already locals. I bet you it brings in, we'll say, a third of that from outside of the general area.
Yeah, so it's for those reasons, some of that's very enlightening. And you're talking about people that are coming in for multiple nights of hotels, plus they're all eating there, and just the overall economic impact that it is. And those are happening every single year, regardless of the weather, all these other things. So that's how that's one thing that I put in perspective when I look at tournaments. And then what does it mean when people often say, like, this is happening in this city, and how is this not recognized or more praised or a bigger deal? One softball tournament, one baseball tournament, one volleyball tournament probably has more impact to a local community than most disc golf tournaments do, even at the highest of levels. Yeah. So that's just a little perspective for, I think, people to kind of keep in mind when you think about what we're doing. And that's not to downplay disc golf. It's just to provide some perspective. And then the event in which you attended, of even much more larger proportions. Are you talking, were there thousands of kids or teams, or what was there?
I would say close to 1,000. There were 50 some teams. Each team is anywhere from 15 to 50 kids, depending on the size of the school. Actually, Franklin, who's just south of us, I think their team is almost 70 players.
Damn.
And they rented out the Wisconsin Center, which is where our it's our smaller arena, and I would say we filled up about a solid third to almost not quite a half of it.
Okay. And
it's amazing. Like, I didn't realize how exciting it was. So this is a robotics competition. It's from FIRST, FIRST, which I have no clue what it stands for, but it's more or less every year they have a competition or a set of rules that these robots have to do. And this year you get paired with two other teams randomly each round, and then I think it all kind of breaks down. Each team does their own scouting of the other teams to kind of keep track of which teams are good, which ones are bad. You can obviously look at it by their overall win-loss record, but that's only, imagine you show up to the disc golf course and you get paired up with two randos. You might lose, even if you're a great player. That you might win, even though you're not a great player. There were, like I said, I think 90 qualifying matches total. Each qualifying match was about, I think it's 3 minutes long, and then there's probably about a 5 to 7 minute break. It was 2 full days. We show up on the first day. and my son's robot. Here, I'm gonna maximize this a little. So let's see here. I'm gonna show. So basically, these robots. Maybe I grabbed. Oh, there it goes. Pops in. I'm gonna mute it here. The robots have to pick up these little round rings and then throw them into their end caps, or there's one little spot. It starts out with 20 seconds or so of autonomous, where the players can't control them. They have to do it automatically, the robots. They program it. And then you grab a controller. Some teams have like flight sticks. Some use Xbox controllers to drive these things around. Well, day one, we show up and our robot's broken. Somehow, somebody
got in last night.
Somebody got in. The thing that was picking up those rings wasn't picking it up, and they couldn't figure out. So the whole first day, their robot wouldn't work, more or less. It would drive around. So they took a different strategy, which was amazing. They played defense. All they did, like this middle red robot is ours, 4786, and it just went around and blocked the other robots. And so that was their strategy, was to try to block.
But could they earn any points that way?
No, they don't. Which is unfortunate. So,
so the best you could do is negate somebody else.
The best you could do is negate somebody else. But after all the qualifying rounds, and I learned all this kind of the day of, you get into the finals, and it ended up that our team was 15th, ranked 15th. They take the top 8 teams, and then it's like a free agent draft. Well, all these teams have been scouting everybody, and they see that we haven't been scoring points. And it's really weird. So you'd think if you have 8 teams, you just start picking free agents. But no, team 1 can turn to team 2 and say, hey, you want to join our team? And the team 2 can say yes, or they can say, no, we're going to create our own team. It was really fun because the top qualified team asked 2 other teams in the top 8 whether they wanted to join them. Both of them turned them down. It gets to Marquette. Marquette picks a really good team. Marquette is another Milwaukee school. Picks McGuanago, who was an awesome team in their first round. And then their second round, they end up picking our team. And we're friends kind of with a lot of the Marquette guys, because they're all, there's
the alliances.
And so what our team, even though day 2, our robot was working, we decided we were going to continue to play defense, because there was one of their robots on the strongest team that was putting up like 100 points a round, as opposed to like 60, 70 that everybody else was, that had to get really close and fire it. So we knew that if we just blocked that robot, they couldn't score. So we were playing total dicks. It was so much fun. And
Talking about ring blockers.
Yeah, and we ended up going undefeated in the playoffs with the 2 teams that we were matched to, which I think was like the 6th rank. We were the 15th technically ranked, and then I think they were like the 12th ranked. Went undefeated and won the event. So the kids now have an invite to Houston in mid-April to go to the World Championships. Not only that, but they won an award that covered
best ring blockers,
their entry fee to Worlds.
Damn.
So that was a $5,000 scholarship from NASA that covered their entry fee. Now they still have to raise a bunch of money, because I think it's going to run them about $40,000 to $50,000 to get everything down there with all the kids that they want to take and the nights and hotels and flights. I mean, because the team, like I said, is 50 deep. They'll probably hopefully take about 20 to 30 kids. They'll leave 15 to 20 here at what they call Command Central, which
means you get left home.
It's a lot of the programming kids, because the programming's done already. You don't really need to update that. You really want your pit crew, which is what my son does, your drivers, your scouting team that's keeping track of all these other teams. It was really fun. It was amazing. We got to sit right next to the Marquette, which happened to be the team that picked us. And like I said, we already know some of the kids back and forth, because Marquette's a private school, so a lot of these kids have come from the schools that are in the nearby area. So we knew some of the teammates, and it was just all around super exciting and a lot of fun. And to see all these kids put forth like months and months of work to actually make it to the World Championships.
So the only payoff question I have: can you and your kid finally find a way to beat Joe Revere? Is this
So-
a possibility now?
So here's what I looked up. I looked up Joe Revere. Joe Revere does middle school, which is 6 through 8, which is a slightly different style of competition.
Okay.
So where they're not, it's like a different league. It's a league for younger
But
kids.
he'd still beat you guys?
No, I think we crush him. We crush him.
All right.
But yeah, so overall, great weekend for. It's funny because these matches are about 3 minutes long, and then you've got like 45 minutes of downtime before your next match. So I would sit and watch the Pro Tour event.
Oh, sure.
Sit in the stands, watch the Pro Tour event.
And then Gannon still wouldn't putt, and then you'd be like, "Oh, this is so."
And then
he started right
Yep.
when his match started,
And then they would go back
Gannon.
and kind of get back into it, and it was a real blast. And I'm excited. Hopefully my kid's gonna volunteer to go to Houston because you have to like opt in, and we'll get him down there. And I don't think I will go personally.
I was going to say that's middle of April.
Middle of April, which there's really nothing going on particularly Pro Tour wise for me at least.
Yeah, I mean, we go from collegiates. Then the next weekend is Jonesboro Open, and then there's a weekend off from the Pro Tour officially, and then there's at the end of April it will be the Champions Cup in Illinois. So yeah, April, relatively speaking, is somewhat light in that sense.
So I'll send my wife down. I told her she should probably go down to Houston with the team and hang out, and I'll stay here for a few days and watch online as it streams and scream at the TV and whatnot. So really exciting. I was super proud of all the kids, and it's amazing how big their team is because they don't just have a robotics team. Like I said, they've got a scouting team, they've got a promotions team, they've got a fundraising team, they've got like a president, they've got a communications team. It's everything you can think of for a business. They have a mini team for it to do something like that for fundraising and
talk about great life skills and
building
applicable business skills and such.
Yeah, they've got a team that just works on the website to update it to make sure they keep people in charge. A social media team that takes pictures and posts them on their website. Yeah, they're literally teaching these kids
all the facets
of a business and life skills in general, which I enjoy quite a bit. And I can't complain. I have no clue what my kid will do for college, if he'll go or when he'll go or where he'll go. But my understanding is a lot of private schools that can negotiate their tuition really look for something like this.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
My boss said his son did 1 year of this, and I think when he was a sophomore, and more or less he went to somewhere in Cincinnati, and they were like, "Cool, we'll knock 10,000 off his scholarship each year, or for a scholarship, we'll knock 10,000 off." And he's like, "Really? The kid did it 1 year?" And they're like, "We don't care."
Yeah, if it's that valuable and they're learning so much, yeah, that makes sense. Love it.
Yep. So fun stuff. Excited. Keep it up.
So with that, as somebody said online, said on our chat, I've never been, and I think it's relatively new, is the whatever they have for the battle bots or whatever in Vegas.
I know it used to be a TV show, but I don't know if they still do things.
No,
like
there's a whole thing in Vegas, and I've yet to go in there.
Oh, cool.
Live from BattleBots Arena in Las Vegas. I've gone by the arena countless times, and I was just going to look, and it looks like, okay, so multiple times a day. I'm seeing like Saturday at 2:30 p.m. and then another one at 6:30 and so on and so forth. I've wanted to go in there since seeing this go up. I feel like this is relatively new in Vegas. I don't know when it will.
Can you gamble on it?
I
mean, it's
one
Vegas.
way or another, right? I'm sure that you can. Somebody could probably update me. But anyway, it's definitely something I want to go check out at some point. So now I'm even more interested. Flamingo. Yeah, not far from the Westin. Okay. I was just trying to look exactly where it was. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Anyway, something that looks like it would be pretty cool to check out. Side note, I saw that they're closing Margaritaville, which you've never been to Vegas,
nope.
nor would you care, but I think that was just posted today that they're closing Margaritaville right there on the Strip.
R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett.
Which has been, I think they said it's been there 20-some years. There's a big chair in front that I know tons of people go take pictures. Which, at the same time, I usually kind of meander through there. As you're walking down the Strip, it's an easy place to go in, especially if it's cold out. It's an easy place to go in, and it's a long way to walk over there to the Flamingo. It's rarely busy in there. And maybe I'm just there on the wrong times, but something doesn't surprise me about that maybe it's a little bit dated and or doesn't quite hit. I don't know if it doesn't hit a demographic or if it's just not a cool place to be anymore, but it is often dead in there. And if you've experienced otherwise, I'd love to hear it, because every time I go through there, it's dead. I feel like this is definitely a tangent to that. One of the things you rarely do see happening, if anything's going on in there, is people playing beer pong. Beer pong's fine and great and dandy and all, but I've said this before, beer pong in public places, like at a shared bar with tens of thousands of people going through on any given week.
Feels gross.
Feels just really gross. And call me like an old fuddy-duddy grandpa, boomer, whatever you want to attach to me. Just the idea of throwing a ball that goes in the drink that then goes on the floor of a place in Vegas, then gets picked up and then thrown in.
The alcohol kills the germs, Terry.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm guessing, because it's Vegas.
I would never do that in Vegas.
There's a lot worse things that you...
I haven't found any, but I bet you there are. I agree with that. It's funny when you see it get played in a few of the spaces that are in Vegas bars. It just always surprises me, because it, quite frankly, just the idea of watching it get played disgusts me. If you want to play the game, I don't care. And most places it gets played is probably disgusting if you really think about it, but like a shared open bar space on the Anyway, moving on from that. There's other drinking games I have to participate in before that one.
I've never been a fan of drinking games because I don't drink beer. So
let me get one with a bunch of hands and ping pong balls off the floor into this beer for you. It'll be better, I promise.
And playing drinking games with other alcohol just is a recipe for disaster.
I don't know. I heard there's going to be something going down at Austin Beer Works this weekend.
Ooh.
Well, if there's not, we're going to make something happen.
I'm sure you could.
It will be great. This weekend we'll have a slightly different, obviously, it's just the FPO division that we're featuring on the live broadcast. Just in general, all the focus will be on the FPO division, and
one round a day.
A day, and it won't be at 9 a.m, roughly. We're talking like
2:30?
Yeah, something in that neighborhood. So for a lot of reasons, this weekend is going to have a different feel and vibe, as the kids say, to what's going on. So looking forward to it. All the focus on FPO and the women's division. Somebody had asked me a few weeks ago as to the network specifically, if the network was going to then be covering or featuring or broadcasting or post-producing any other divisions. And the short answer that I'm 99% certain of is no. It's a fair question, but if there's any post-production, recap shows, daily this, or any other things of that nature, that would be more so coordinated from the PDGA specifically.
Yeah, do you know if the PDGA has any?
That's exactly.
Maybe
what
we can talk to Ace Run.
Ace Run is out on the board.
Oh, he says USWDGC is one of our favorites of the year. We wish we could be there for it, which makes me believe that they're not going to be there for it. Yeah, because I could see an FP40 division. I could see, FA1 division, something along those lines. But
juniors, I mean,
well, those are the I can't imagine it covering a juniors one, just because the length of the course, how long it takes some of the players, and just the absolute, like, they're for the most part too young to make a name for themselves. Some of the FA1s, those are your up and coming FPO players. Your FP40 are obviously usually your previous FPO.
FP40, yeah.
No, I'm saying the FP40 is your previous FPO competitors that have names and stuff, little name recognition. So, I don't know, I hope we maybe see some other coverage of some sort through the PDGA, but you're right. As far as FPO goes, it'll be strictly Pro Tour. You'll definitely get lead card. My guess is you'll probably get some chase card as well that we've seen in the past. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know if they're going to be doing... Are they going to do featured holes again?
Yes, this is...
Okay, good, because it's a major.
I think we're going to see, if I understood from my production call earlier today, I don't want to overpromise, but I don't know
overpromise
if it's 16,
for some
I don't know
hand.
if it's 16, 17, and 18, or if it's 17 and 18 will have dedicated feature hole broadcast as well. So that will be really cool, which also gives us the opportunity that when something happens, and it might not be from someone that's on a featured card, but an incredible shot happens or something dramatic happens on one of those two final holes, that's just 2 more cameras or 3 more cameras that are in position to capture it. I don't know what holes 16, 17, or 18 look like specifically at this course, but if anything extraordinary or noteworthy happens, it's cool to say, hey, we've got 2 or 3 more holes that are going to be covered and could potentially be capturing that particular shot. So Ace Run is saying last year we covered juniors and FP40. So
Awesome.
Unfortunately, we will not be there. I'm going to continue to read from Ace Run on the board. We will not be there to do so this year. And as far as we know, the PDGA will not have additional coverage from others.
Bummer.
Other than some highlights of content. So
Okay.
that's always a question, is like, where do resources get allocated, financial and just flat out manpower? People like Ace Run, for instance, and your gatekeepers and your GK pros and all of those types, all of these channels that are like our players on the grind and on the tour and touring around and capturing a ton of events, some exclusively with the network or with the Pro Tour, but then also occasionally jump off to go capture other A tiers or regional events. At some point, you just run out of quote unquote manpower to cover every single weekend of golf. And that's a very real challenge. And I think a lot of people forget about that and don't realize, like, hey, some of these camera crews would like to have a life of their own, and maybe not work literally every single weekend. I mean, it felt very weird for me not to be part of any disc golf this last weekend. So I know exactly what that feels like. So, and I guess we'll see what the media plan is. I'll know more 24 hours from now. That much I can say. Yeah,
and I don't know if there's any local Texas post-production coverage teams. And I mean, obviously not Jomez. That was what I was kind of hoping. Like, oh, maybe there's a production company that could cover FP40. But if there's not, and that's what we have to
Maybe
live
I
with.
should double up. What do you think?
I mean,
maybe in the mornings, if they're early enough, I go out cover FP40 and then jump in the booth for FPO.
You could.
I kind of feel like a slacker, so I'm not doing that.
You should.
I'll bring some cameras, though. Anything could happen.
I'm sure you would. Yeah.
We could have one whole feature card cover.
Honestly, I would. I think just final round stuff would be fine. Like wait until you see personally for your page. We'll say wait and see if there's a competition in FP40. If someone's out by 12 strokes going into the final round and it's not competitive, there's no point really in covering it. Now, if it's competitive, you go in like, oh, someone's only up by 2. That might be a competitive round. I could film and I'd put it out there. That is something. Again, that's assuming that it were to happen like in the morning and before your call times and whatnot. I don't know. Again, it's not my dime, so I'm not going to tell someone how they should spend it.
Good call.
I mean, I will, but
Ray
I
asks, have you made your picks for the NCAA tournament? Wisconsin is going to lose to James Madison first round, I think.
No, they're not. I don't know, though. I don't know either team. I mean, I know Wisconsin, but they're an okay team. I'm just going to say no, they're not.
No.
I don't think they will.
Yeah,
it's a 5-12.
Yeah, we just got to straight up rep Wisconsin here. No, Johnny nor I are NCAA aficionados.
Someone's going to
college basketball or football.
I should keep my mouth shut, but I'm not going to.
Great.
Here's my idea, Terry.
Oh, this should be a doozy.
I think it's not a bad idea. And I was thinking about this last week because I was like, when's March Madness? I haven't filled out a bracket in a few years because, again, the way I fill out brackets, I pretty much take all chalk and then I pick one 5-12 upset. I pick like two 5-12 upsets, one 4-13 upset, and like just basically do that. And I randomly do it. I don't know enough about college basketball, nor do I care. But here's my idea: disc golf bracket. What if you started at Texas and you picked, we'll just say the top 32. Well, you picked the 32 players, and this could be a little difficult, but 32 players from MPO, we'll say, and you just created 2 brackets, and you put whoever you think is the first ranked player, we could go by the PDGA, and you put them against the 32nd, or we'll say the 16th, because it's 2 16 brackets. And you did it round by round. So first round, maybe Gannon goes up against Zach Melton. I don't know.
Okay.
Whoever scores the best that round moves on. You're going to have some upsets because occasionally you're going to see a player who's maybe ranked 15th shoot better than Gannon one round, and Gannon's eliminated. And it rolls through maybe 2 events. You go through Texas, there's only 3 rounds, and maybe you roll it into one other event.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the next...
Texas again.
Yay. That was my idea, was kind of having something like that, a bracket where you put players in. The difficult part is you have to pick players that are going to be at 2 events in a row. Because you don't want, let's just say, we know Chris Dickerson isn't going to be at Houston, even though he's maybe, we'll say, the 12th ranked player in the world right now. You'd have to leave him out because he's not going to be at Houston. So you can't have, you could have a default and like, oh, guess what? You got Chris Dickerson. Everyone's going to pick him to lose. But you have to find, we'll just say 32 players are going to be at both events. And you do it literally round by round. And you just pair them up and you find some website that does bracketing. And you manually fill in. I think it's kind of a fun idea.
Check out fantasydiscgolfbrackets.com where I have this all set up.
Tell me, people, on the board. Good idea, bad idea, mediocre idea?
Ray says Steve Dodge is loving this. And right now we know that. If
Steve Dodge is probably like, he's got a whole formula figured out. And
that's possible.
He's going to look at like, well, their rating is this, and we have to give them this many strokes. So you have to figure this. Like, he's going to make it more difficult than just,
it needs to be.
Than just straight up numbers. But that was my idea for like a March Madness bracket for disc golf. Just straight up players, straight up rounds. Second round, whoever's going to get it, it could be total upset. You could go chalk. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly could be an upset. It's just funny because it's of no... Yeah, okay. Sure. There's an idea there. Somebody run with it. You could become 100 penny in there.
There's no... I was going to say, I don't know how you would even collect money on that. Most of these sites are
charge
free.
For the bracket.
Charge for the bracket, charge to pay for it. Ray says it sounds kind of cool. I think it'd be worth trying just to see how it would go. If I was clever, I would have thought of it before Waco and done it Waco and Austin, because most people played both of those rounds, but I didn't think of it back then because I wasn't thinking of March Madness.
Just gotta get smarter.
So, Tim Courts asks, so is Brian going to pick Chris to win this weekend? Brian Earhart infamously this weekend picked Ricky Wysocki to win.
Or to be a podium contender or to win, maybe?
I think it was a win, but what Brian neglected to know was that Ricky wasn't playing this weekend. So understandably, Brian took some heat for it a little bit on the internet. Nothing Brian can't take, and a lot of people got a funny joke out of it. There were some people that got way more upset about it than I feel like they should have. Like, how do you not know? This is just blah, 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 whatever. You could easily turn around and say, well, guess what? Brian thought this is a perfect course for Ricky's style of golf. Way to go.
Yeah.
And Anttila's lucky Ricky wasn't there to win.
Yeah, somebody just asked, how much could you win? I mean, like I said, hundreds of pennies.
How much could I win? Probably 0. It depends on how many people joined in, how much you charge, how much you pay out, things like that. I don't know.
Winner take all.
Winner. Take all dinner. And then what you'd put each round. I'm not even very great at brackets in general. I have to figure out. I know you just did a bracket thing a couple years ago. I don't know.
Somebody smarter's got to run with this
Somebody
idea.
Smarter. Like
you're welcome for Johnny V's idea.
It's my idea.
Go ahead and run with it.
I'm not going to be offended if you take it and run with it. Somebody.
On the way here tonight, and this is as random as they get, I realize.
Okay, I love it. Bring it on.
On the way here tonight, I thought, who was the writer that came up with the line, "That's what she said"? And not necessarily do I want to know that person's name, but what do they think of that line now? And you could say that of probably of any...
That's got to be 50 years old. I mean, it's popularized by The Office.
Correct. So that's what I wonder. And I didn't get as far as Googling it, as Johnny's about to. And do they roll their eyes at that because they're so sick of it? Well, Johnny V is on it because he went again. This was a driving thought, so I didn't bother Googling it. Wow. In America, the earliest documented case of the phrase appears in 1975 episode of Saturday Night Live. In particular, it was Chevy Chase using the joke during Weekend Update on the show's first season. It was first popular to use, use in Wayne's World. Oh, sketches, and later the movie. And then it goes all the way back. Twist of the joke, British phrase, more than a century, 1901 to 1910.
There was a line that was, as an actress says to the bishop, in reference to actresses whose companies could be purchased after performances, confessing their sins to the clergyman. It was used in the same way as that's what she said, highlighting an unintended double entendre. So it's a very old joke, again, clearly re-brought up and popularized by The Office, because Michael Scott would say it all the time. So I don't think there's, I don't think you can really track it.
No, it doesn't. I mean, obviously that seems like a pretty good history or origin of it.
Thanks, Google.
Oh, man, that Google, I'm going to look into it once in a while.
You should.
Other side note, my daughter is, one of my daughters is turning 13 in a couple days.
Yeah.
She's going with a friend on spring break, which is great. My other daughter is going to London with a school trip. I think I talked about that a couple weeks ago. Excited for her. What I'm surprised about is they leave on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They return on the following Saturday. And they are taking a direct flight from Chicago.
So it's basically a 5-day visit?
Yeah, but then you think of, obviously, the first day that you get there, I think they arrive in the morning, what will be morning on Monday morning, and then obviously on the way back, you're going to gain some time. Just kind of surprised me that over a spring break time frame, they'd leave as late as a Sunday. After spring break has already started, arguably on Friday or Saturday, and that they're coming back on that
Wednesday for
that
us.
following Saturday. So I'm kind of surprised by that, but I am really excited. She's obviously a little bit nervous. One of the things we did today, because we are hearing so much that they've moved largely to cashless over there, is that we got her I signed up for a joint bank account that is acting as a debit account. Or is it strictly as a checking account?
She has an iPhone, right?
She does.
Let's load her up with some Apple Pay.
I'm not giving her money. I honestly, it's funny. A, I wouldn't even know how to do that. And B, could I do that from an Android phone?
I don't know.
How does Apple Pay get funded? Where does it come from?
I don't know. I sent it to my
bank
son.
Account?
You can, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not doing that.
I mean, well, no. I mean, you can set them up with a certain amount of money. You can send them Apple Cash. You could probably literally go to a store, Terry, buy an Apple credit card, like we'll say like a gift card, a $20 card, and then she would just scan it into her phone so that she had $20.
No, so my follow-up, and if it's not obvious, guys, I'm not in the Apple ecosystem, as Johnny V is. I'm always been in Android. When is Apple Pay going to be as accepted as Visa and MasterCard?
It is.
I mean, like, is it assumed, though? Because I know, like, Google Pay or Samsung Pay and all these different solutions, I use my Google Wallet, and I have cards stored in there, which I understand is
if
very
you can
similar.
use your Google, you can use your Apple. Because it's the same touch, NFC, touch to pay. They take all the credit cards. So it is...
But just because they take credit card doesn't necessarily mean that they take Apple and Google.
Correct. There are some places...
That was my main concern.
There are some places that, like, I know my grocery store doesn't have... The Pick and Save down the road doesn't have the touch, but our Sendix does. Sendix is a small grocery / gas station store up the road. Pick and Save is a bigger grocery store. They don't have it at their checkouts. But any place that takes your tap to pay will take iPhone, Apple, Google Pay. They'll take it all because it's all done the same NFC.
But I don't think that necessarily the vendors, or I'm sorry, the store accepts them. I understand that the technology is the same and that they could, but I've had times where they wouldn't take a Google Pay, and I'm sitting there wondering why.
Sure.
And it's because they haven't set themselves up, or
That could be.
And to be fair, I think if we actually rewind probably a few hundred episodes, there's been times when they say they couldn't, and I think they could. It was an operator error.
They just didn't know.
Which is also very frustrating. And I think we're getting past that now. But that was very frustrating for a very long time. Oh, we don't accept that. And then oftentimes you could say, well, let me try. And then you put it up there and it goes through. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that worked that way. That's happened more than a dozen times.
Yeah, when my son went to D.C. last year for their 8th grade trip, that's when I loaded him up with like $50 with Apple Pay. I said, here, $50. If you need more, just text me and I can just send it to him via a text message. It comes right off my credit card. Or I think I can set it right to like a debit card or whatever, but I can just send him money via Apple Pay, and then it reloads his thing. It's like a set credit card. So that's what I did for him. In fact, this past weekend at the arena, each student was given, I think, a $20 food credit for the arena. Like that was that part of their budget of fundraising and whatnot. So they went to the arena and he spent his whatever $8 to $10 the first day and then dropped his card wherever he was sitting. So the next day, Sunday, he's like, I don't have my card. And I said, cool. Well, I think you have like $20 or whatever on Apple Pay left that he's had forever. I said, just tap it. I know it works. I've been to that arena a dozen times. Thankfully, he got to the arena and someone handed him his card, said, hey, I found this under the seat where you were sitting yesterday. So here it is. And then he was able to use it. So
after they emptied it?
Yeah, after they emptied it. So here's the empty card. And so thankfully, but again, if you can, we'll look and see if you can, I don't think you can send Apple Pay, but like I said, go to a store, buy an Apple Pay card.
That sounds like a bunch of work.
How much ever it's worth, and then hand it to her. And once she has it, then, you could
now she has a debit card attached, and that'll work just the same.
To her iPhone?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, that should work.
Which is funny because we had to call in.
But I would have her keep the debit card in case it doesn't take.
Correct. Yeah. And so we literally left the bank. They handed her the debit card. We called in because she wanted to set up on our Apple Pay. And she called in and somehow the bank got involved and said, we need to confirm a few things. What was your last transaction or what was your last check written? My daughter's like, we set up the account 9 minutes ago. And he's like, okay, can you tell us the last withdrawal amount? And she again was like, we set up the account 9 minutes ago. There's been no withdrawals. We literally just got this account. It was 12 extra minutes of a lot of pausing, I think, where this guy was short-circuiting as to how in the world we got it to work. But it sounds like it worked. So nonetheless, the question that remains is, what do foreign transaction fees look like? And is it going to be assumed that they're like that 2.9 or 2.8% or whatever it is, including your Apple Pay, which I bet you they would be. I think that's what most credit and debit cards are. So you would assume there's going to be a foreign transaction fee attached to a Google Wallet.
Maybe. I don't know.
Apple Pay.
I don't know. You can Google that, Terry. Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV is where you can support us every single week. You can listen to Terry and I banter about this silly stuff. This week, Terry...
My daughter needs money for London. Please pay.
My son needs money for Houston to go to a robotics competition.
We're trying to get rid of our kids.
So
help
please
us make that
support
happen.
us. There are 134 people eligible for our giveaway this week, Terry, and I have random.com open. So let's draw a number. What do you want to draw?
If you have random.com open, we're in trouble.
No, it's random.org.
Okay, because random.com, don't go there, folks.
I kind of want to go there now, but I'm not gonna.
Don't put on your ad blocker, put on your firewall, and then
I removed my ad blocker. No,
all right, yes. And funny enough, our winner from last week, I sent him an email and said, "Hey, let's get something out." He goes, "Holy shit, I won! I finally won!" You did, and of course, it was a week he wasn't actively watching.
Oh wow.
So I feel bad that I kind of spoiled the surprise for him. But yes, he was excited that he won, and he sent me his address. So excited to make it happen. All right. Well, I say, let's use we'll pull from a number from tonight in Schwebe's 400. Let's
0.
Let's trim that down by a magnitude of 100 and pick the fourth number.
Magnitude? Oh, well, either way.
Right? Is that the right word? Derivative? Magnitude. We'll trim it down by a magnitude of 100. Reduce it by a magnitude of 100. 400 reduced by a magnitude of 100 would be 4.
Is
Am I
it?
saying that right?
I don't know.
You got the science robotics kid. Come on,
but-
smarty.
Yeah, but that's not me.
Somebody tell me
All
I
right,
did that right.
We'll take the fourth one. So our very first number is 81. Our second number is 99. Our third number is 117. And our fourth and final number
400.
is 58.
58.
58. So let me
like it.
grab 58. I sorted them by email address. No, I sorted them by first name. I lied.
I know you could divide by 100.
58. 58 is Jeremy Davis.
That's a new name as well. it feels
Jeremy
like.
Davis.
I love
Congratulations, Jeremy Davis. He has been a Patreon supporter since February of 2022.
Heck yeah.
So
a little
thank
more
you
than 2
very
year
much.
anniversary.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. We'll reach out to you with I've already got your address, so I'll put that in our wonderful little email to Terry Miller, and out of Illinois.
Yeah, we'll see if we can confirm that's in fact the right address, and we'll get that sent out to you.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, speaking of...
Nope.
Well, this is kind of, sort of, almost in the realm of Illinois,
Probably not.
since a lot of players come from there. I'm waiting on a final confirmation. I know I touched on this last week, but I'm waiting on a final confirmation from the Parks Department about the Skyline Classic, maybe or maybe not taking place. I'm understandably getting asked questions by players, by our organizing committee within Wisconsin, by a t-shirt printer within Wisconsin. All very fair and valid. I've continued to tell everybody that... I'm on the fence, but even more importantly, that decision might not even be in my hands. I'm waiting on the Parks Department to get back to me to confirm if we can, in fact, be settled on a date or not. So I just wanted to give that update. I know plenty of you, especially if you're in Illinois, and a lot of you come up and play in the event, and I appreciate all of you. There's a very valid possibility, or a very real possibility, the event goes on hiatus for 1 year, because I hate the idea of making the final announcement so late that it frustrates you. But I'm waiting. It's legitimately just a waiting game right now. And I know that sucks, because I wish this was ironed out a couple months ago, but at that time I didn't have my schedule for the year. I'm sorry you're frustrated, because some of you are, and I don't blame you, but I can only do what I can do. So Skyline Classic is still officially in limbo, is really the long and short of that.
Ace Run says, number one will never be pulled. We have accepted our fate. And then I said, well, they're not number one.
Yeah.
Somebody has their name as hashtag Eli. So hashtag Eli is number one.
And that only matters
when I sort it by first name.
Yeah, when you sort it by first name. So
if I sort it by email address.
by good looks, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, if I sort it by email address, they're number two still.
Yeah, because somebody has a number in their
as the first
email.
Yeah.
And if you sort it by looks, they're
they're
top of our list.
Very high up there, yeah.
On the top of our list.
I always like watching the Pro Tour and then seeing Felix behind the camera.
Yeah.
He's been there for a few weeks.
You don't like seeing him in front of the camera?
Anyway, let's talk about
Whoa.
Awkward.
Ouch.
No,
Hitting
gosh,
too
they are
close
so much
to
our
home.
buddies.
We don't normally go here. Dare I say, is there a bold FPO prediction for this weekend from you?
No, there's not a bold prediction. There's a very boring prediction. I think Kristen Tatar will win this. If it's 5 rounds, is it 4 rounds?
It's 4.
If
it's 5, we're in
if it's
trouble.
5 rounds, then she's definitely going to
one
win.
of them's not getting covered.
4 rounds, I think Kristen Tatar wins this. I think just the statistics bear it out that she will, the cream will rise to the top. I feel like Kristen Tatar will probably take this in. She will more than likely get her focus set for this major, which I'm sure they're all amped up for. They're all ready for. But I just can't see anyone else taking this other than Kristen at this point.
Oh.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Owen won, but just everything in my gut says KT.
And there's lots of other viable potential winners.
Yeah,
But you're saying...
there's like 3 other viable potential winners.
So Evelina Hannah,
No.
Haley King,
Yes, Haley King.
Missy Gannon,
Yeah, it's not a super long
Ella-
course, so
Ella
I'll
Hansen.
take Missy. Ella Hansen could
Colin
win.
Hanley,
Colin,
Valerie
yes.
Mondahano.
No.
Okay.
Just the way Valerie has been playing lately. She doesn't look like it would surprise me if she won. I think she's a very solid player, but based on how she's played the last few weeks, she's just not at the level right now of the other women. So I hope she gets up there, because the more women that are at the top of the field competing for a win, the better our sport is and the more exciting the FPO field is. But you can look right now that there is a clear division line, but like the top 5 or 6 women, everybody else, it's hard to see them competing.
Okay. This is a very minor side note, but I would love if you could go to pdga.com/USWDGC. You can, but it only brings you to 2021. I'd love to have that redirect to the current year, because I know if I type in...
Someone has to update their DNS records.
Type in 2024. If you type in pdga.com/2024 USWDGC, it'll get you to the correct spot. So maybe I just need to redo my brain. But if you type in USDGC, it kind of randomly brings you to 2021 USWDGC, where I wish it would just go to whatever the current year is. Anyway, tons of information is out there, though. Your caddy books, your tee times. Will, here's maybe a good one.
Okay.
With different tee times than normal, or we just talked about the women generally being pushed back and starting later than they're used to for most of the year.
Yep. Most of the women tee off at 9:30.
Will we, or by 9:30, yep, will we see any woman not be there 5 minutes ahead of time and get stroked, as Holly Finley did this last weekend? Will we see any woman make that error this weekend?
I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to see one this week. I'm hoping we don't.
All right, what's the board think? What would the over-under on that be? What does the board think as to if we will see any... And again, I'm throwing in the uniqueness of this weekend in particular, because just tee times are different than normal. They're much more spread out, and there's a lot more women. We have 103 women, I think, in the FPO division. Will we see anyone show up late? Late per the 5-minute rule, blah, 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 so on and so forth.
Okay. So, GPO Studio says, big field, bound to happen. It's possible. I
of any event, this seems like a prime candidate for that bet, doesn't it? More so than a regular event, because it's out of the norm. There's way more women. No?
Nah. I don't.
Okay.
No, I think I asked maybe this last week. If you had to pick a number on how many more of these penalties we'll see the rest of the season. So say from USWDGC through USDGC, because I don't think the Pro Tour finale would count because it's not sanctioned, but I'm sure they probably still would put it there, but I'm not going to count them. So through USDGC, how many more of these penalties are we going to see this year? If I told you the number was 3.5, would you go over or under that?
I hate to say it. I think I'd go over. Over. I really do think we're going to continue to see more.
GPO Studio says 4 to 7 more this year. That's the over. Oh, Ace Run went with the over under a 5. I went with 5. I went with a half number, so because if it was 5, that you wouldn't hit on that. But
I think just inadvertently losing track of time, forgetting to check in. I think those things will. I think they'll happen still, man.
If I told you, and I know, and again, I'm this doesn't count, but if I said it doesn't count if they miss hole 1, like if you're just flat out late.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah,
like, just like people getting the 2-stroke penalty.
Yeah, no. How many? Here, okay. Here's a better way to put it. How many people are going to get the 2-stroke penalty? Because not like, hey, I missed hole 1 because I had I got into a traffic jam, so I took a 4-stroke penalty on hole 1. You don't get the 2-stroke penalty.
No, correct. No,
so how many people are going to get the 2-stroke penalty?
I think 4. I think still over on 4.
Over. Okay.
Yeah, I do. Because missing your tee time isn't that common. We've seen that throughout the years.
Correct, yeah.
Straight up missing your tee time and then arriving on hole 2. Very, very, it's obviously has happened, but that's very rare. Mm-hmm. That's happened maybe less times than we've already seen people show up late by a couple minutes this year, or a couple seconds, or whatever it is. So I think people are going to get caught up. I think people are just going to just inadvertently lose track of time and their space and not realize that they maybe haven't done it yet. Now, this is going to also come back to the enforcement and how rigid the starters are. They've clearly
been rigid.
So far proven that they're on top of it.
As Holly Finley said, she was 30 seconds late.
Yeah. And that, I think, is going to be a factor of it as well, is who's going to be noticing it. If we're just going to make up a number, you're on third to last MPO card. Third to last. You're in 112th place. You and your 2 card mates, or your 3 card mates, I'm sorry, you and 2 of your card mates are there. You guys are 44 strokes out of first after 2 rounds. I mean, that's extreme, but you're 44 strokes out of first after 2 rounds. You're fighting to not finish in last. Are you sitting there watching your watch for your final card mate to show up and then kind of nodding at the starter when it's at 4 minutes? I don't know. Rules are rules, and they apply to everybody. I'm not suggesting otherwise. I'm just saying it'll be interesting to see how and when and whom these get enforced.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to verify that number, because you're right. If this happens on the 23rd card of MPO, is anyone even going to know? If you're suggesting their score is so bad anyway. Yeah, I'm saying, will we ever hear about it? Will it be posted on social media? Like, again, you take, I don't even have a name of a person. Some local pro in Texas, in Houston, doesn't show up 5 minutes because he doesn't maybe necessarily think of the rule.
Sure.
Joe Blow. Is that something we're ever going to hear about? Is that something we're going to?
I want the report. There should be a weekly report generated.
Yeah, and if so, how can we? Is it designated anywhere?
It gets added to the end of their round, is what I've heard.
Correct, but is there a way I can see that? Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Because I was going to say we could look at Holly Finley's rounds and see if there's a way to designate it. But other than probably manually adding them,
yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Because that was round 2 that happened?
I don't know if it was round 1 or 2. Yeah, I mean, you +5 is +5 of 69 is the next question. No, there it is. Yeah, +5. Her score says +5. She shot a 69, which relative to par would be 3 over.
Correct,
but she's carded for a 59, so there's no way to know that.
Yeah, she's carded as a 71, but she really shot a 69 because the other +5s are at 71.
Correct. So there's your case in point.
So there's no way
right now. Click on her thing. I don't think anything will drop down and probably tell you. Just big showed up late. No, there's an OB thing on there. It would be nice maybe if there was another little section next to OB that just says penalty stroke assessed.
Yeah.
2 penalty strokes assessed.
Like a shameful.
Yeah.
And the symbol's a little clock instead of an arrow or something.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, because I assume it would be scored the same as if there was like a courtesy violation,
correct,
or anything like that. So,
but usually that's added to a specific no, that's not necessarily added to a whole. You could.
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, it's going to be hard in general. It's going to be hard to determine who's right or wrong, but we'll try to keep track a little bit if we hear of players making that happen. So I don't know.
Ace Run says, I was there when Holly was called on it. She was just under 30 seconds late. She was walking up the pathway to the tee. Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of talked about it last week, so we don't need to beat it to death, but, what constitutes as being there, getting checked in, being there for that time, so on and so forth. And just, again, how rigid is the rule going to be applied? The starters are likely different at every event. You have your local organizing committee. There's a starter. the question is there a PDGA official or a Pro Tour enabled official that will be at that starting point every single round?
I would guess the starter is maybe...
The starter is likely of the local flavor or variety, local organizing committee person, empowered person. But will there be any other official, or whether it's DGPT and or PDGA? I don't know. That's Ace Run then clarified or elaborates and says it was a DGPT official that called her on it. That's what I'm saying. When you're in 112th, is there still going to be a DGPT person standing right there, ready? Or is this something that they're going to be there for a few weeks or a few months to kind of enact this rule? And then maybe they're like, okay, people have it. They're getting here on time. We're not going to be standing right here waiting for it.
I don't know. Is it going to be fair if that happens? Do you think players are going to complain?
I'm on a higher card. You cared about me, but you didn't care about the 29th card?
Or even like someone like a Zach Mountain who it happened to earlier in the season. Is he going to be here and be like, hey, how come there's nobody here? I got busted earlier in the season.
That's what I'm saying. Will somebody at any point, whether it's on the card, be looking at their watch thinking, hey, this should be applied?
I will. I'll stand there and yell it.
Just think of that as your, like, you volunteered to go to a tournament just to sit there at the starter's tent and watch the clock. Holly here yet? Okay, she's got 7 seconds.
As she's walking
and
down.
then she's yelling, I'm here. Like, there's...
Yeah, how close do you have to be to check in? You know, if I'm waving at her, he's like, hey, I'm right here. I don't know, Terry.
All right, what we do know is it's time to call it. Yeah, hall monitor vibes for sure. We'll see how
maybe I can get like a vest or a
sachet.
A sash. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems fitting. What would yours say?
Oh, if my job is to bust people for time,
clock blocker? No, would you be a clock blocker?
No, I wouldn't be a clock blocker. That'd be kind of yeah. Let's leave it at that, Terry.
All right. Everybody, make sure you wish Johnny V a happy birthday tomorrow, 55 minutes from now, depending on what time zone you're in. We're here in Central, so it's 55 minutes away. But thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. Thanks for coming along for our silly ride. Happy birthday here to Johnny V tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody.
And to my daughter, who may or may not be watching. Happy birthday to Mackenzie in a couple days as well. Everyone be safe, have fun. Looking forward to calling the shots and checking in with you guys from Austin, Texas, and maybe more importantly, Austin Beer Works. We'll see how that goes. Johnny, I'll have a birthday drink for you tomorrow.
Oh, thanks.
That's my promise.
Oh, thank you,
That's
Terry.
my promise to you when I'm on the other side of the country. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's 498's After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.